Picture this. It's 3 a.m. in rural Brazil. The moonlight casts shadows across endless sugarcane fields. Everything seems peaceful until you hear it, a low rumble. Not thunder, not machinery. It's something much worse. What you're hearing is the sound of destruction moving at 30 miles per hour. By sunrise, 3 months of back-breaking work will be gone, completely erased, as if it never existed. This isn't a natural disaster. This isn't a war between nations. This is something far more personal, far more devastating, and happening right now while you sleep. In the remote countryside of southern Brazil, farmers are digging trenches that stretch for miles around their crops. Not to stop armies, not to channel water. They're digging to stop pigs. But these aren't your typical farm pigs. Meet the Java porcos, hybrid beasts born from European wild boar and domestic pigs. They're stronger, smarter, faster, and more destructive than anything these farmers have ever faced. And tonight, they're coming for everything these families have worked for. Here's the twist. When all modern defenses fail, electric fences, steel traps, even firearms, these farmers turn to the oldest weapon known to mankind, a shovel. What happens next will change everything you thought you knew about survival, ingenuity, and the lengths people will go to protect their livelihood. But first, you need to meet the enemy. Forget wolves, bears, or jaguars. The most dangerous enemy facing Brazilian farmers today walks on 4 legs, weighs 300 pounds, and has an IQ that would surprise you. The Java porco isn't your typical wild animal. Created through decades of crossbreeding between European wild boar and domestic pigs, these creatures have evolved into agricultural nightmares. They're stronger than wild boar, smarter than domestic pigs, and more destructive than both combined. They travel in packs of 20 to over 100 animals. When darkness falls, they emerge from the forest like a living bulldozer, systematically destroying everything in their path. They don't just eat crops, they demolish entire irrigation systems with hooves harder than steel. They uproot sugarcane plants, destroy corn stalks, and turn months of careful cultivation into wasteland in hours. But it gets worse. These animals are learning. Once they discover a food source, they return night after night. They remember. They adapt. They even teach their young the best routes to the richest fields. And if destroying crops wasn't enough, Java porcos attack livestock too. Chickens, ducks, even calves become protein sources for these omnivorous destroyers. They're walking disease carriers, spreading leptospirosis, hepatitis E, and African swine fever through water, soil, and air. One pack, one night, an entire season's harvest, gone. You'd think with all our modern technology, we'd have solutions for this problem. You'd be wrong. What happened when desperate farmers tried every cutting-edge defense available will shock you. When everything modern fails, when your livelihood depends on outsmarting 300-pound intelligent pigs, you don't just give up. Brazilian farmers threw everything they had at this problem, creating a catalog of expensive failures that would make any engineer cringe. First came high-tech electric fencing, the kind designed to stop bears and large predators. Cost, thousands of dollars per mile. Result, complete failure. Why? Because Java porcos are smart enough to disable power sources with a single bite. Some even use sticks to test the wires before approaching. When the fence goes dead, the entire herd floods in. Next came elaborate steel traps, cage systems, and pit traps with mechanical triggers. The problem? These animals travel in massive groups, but traps only catch a few at a time. When the first pig gets caught and starts squealing, the rest of the herd learns to avoid that area for weeks. Worse yet, the smartest pigs actually scout ahead, triggering traps to clear safe paths for their families. Firearms seemed like the obvious solution. Except try shooting 100 fast-moving targets in complete darkness, thick forest, and heavy fog. Even professional hunters couldn't make a dent in populations that reproduce faster than bullets could stop them. Plus, the legal complications and environmental concerns made widespread shooting problematic. After months of watching expensive solutions fail spectacularly, exhausted farmers began asking a different question. What if we stopped trying to catch them and started preventing them from getting here in the first place? Comment 1 if you find this video interesting. Comment 0 if you find it boring. That's when Joao, a desperate farmer with nothing left to lose, picked up the most basic tool imaginable and discovered something that would revolutionize farming across an entire region. The shovel that changed everything, Joao, a 58-year-old sugarcane farmer in Sao Paulo state, had lost 2 consecutive harvests to Java porcos. His bank account was empty. His family's future hung in the balance. He had no money left for fancy equipment or high-tech solutions. So he did something that seemed almost primitive. He grabbed a shovel and started digging. He dug trenches 5 feet deep, 3 feet wide, with vertical walls that stretched around his entire property. No electricity, no moving parts, no technology that could break down. Just holes in the ground that created an invisible barrier more effective than anything money could buy. The results were immediate and shocking. Within weeks, crop damage dropped by 90%. After 3 months, many farms reported 0 pig intrusions. The Java porcos simply couldn't cross the trenches. If they fell in, they couldn't climb out. If they tried to jump, they couldn't make the distance. Unlike electric fences that require maintenance and can be disabled, trenches just exist. They don't need power. They don't need monitoring. They can't be outsmarted or broken. They're a permanent, silent guardian that works 24/7 without human intervention. Word spread faster than wildfire. Farmers across southern Brazil began hiring excavators and organizing trench-digging cooperatives. What started as one desperate man's last resort became a regional agricultural revolution. But there was a problem nobody saw coming. This simple solution was about to create complications that would test these farmers in ways they never imagined. The price of protection. Digging a trench sounds simple until you do the math. A typical small farm needs 3 to 6 miles of trenches. Larger operations require double that. At $2 per foot for professional excavation, the initial investment runs between $30,000 and $100,000. But that was just the beginning. When rainy season arrived, trenches became mud-filled nightmares. Without proper drainage, they transformed from defensive barriers into breeding grounds for mosquitoes and standing water hazards. Many farmers discovered their solution had created new problems requiring additional engineering and thousands more dollars. Rocky soil required industrial drilling equipment, tripling costs. Soft soil needed concrete reinforcement to prevent cave-ins. Every geographical challenge demanded customized solutions that stretched budgets beyond breaking points. Then came the human cost. Farm equipment operators working at night couldn't see trench edges clearly. Several tractors tumbled into defensive ditches, injuring drivers and destroying expensive machinery. Children playing near farms faced new drowning hazards. Emergency access to fields became complicated during medical emergencies. Smart farmers began installing warning signs, reflective markers, and temporary bridges at key crossing points. But every safety measure meant more expense, more maintenance, more complexity. The brutal truth? While trenches stopped pigs, they also created a new category of problems that farmers hadn't anticipated. Some began wondering if the cure was worse than the disease. But then something unexpected happened. The farmers who were struggling the most started discovering safety issues that went far beyond just trench accidents. Maria Santos thought her trench system was perfect until the accident. Her teenage son was driving their small tractor near the property line when morning fog obscured the trench edge. The vehicle tumbled in, breaking the boy's arm and destroying $15,000 worth of equipment. This wasn't an isolated incident. Across Brazil, trench accidents became a new category of farm-related injuries. Emergency responders struggled to access fields during medical crises because their vehicles couldn't cross defensive barriers. Delivery trucks refused to enter properties without proper bridges. Even farm workers began demanding hazard pay for operating near the holes. Environmental complications emerged too. During heavy rains, trenches channeled water flow in unexpected directions, causing erosion in neighboring properties. Some farmers faced lawsuits from downstream neighbors whose fields flooded because of redirected runoff. Wildlife protection groups raised concerns about native animals falling into traps designed for pigs. Local deer, armadillos, and even cattle occasionally became unintended victims of defensive systems designed to be indiscriminate barriers. The maintenance nightmare was relentless. Successful trenches require constant upkeep. Vegetation grows along edges, creating natural bridges for determined animals. Seasonal flooding deposits mud and debris that must be removed. In some areas, trenches require complete re-excavation every 2 years. Yet farmers kept digging. Despite all these complications, one fact remained unchanged. The trenches worked. And then something remarkable happened. The smartest farmers stopped thinking about trenches as just holes in the ground and started seeing them as part of something much bigger. The trench revolution did more than stop pigs. It transformed rural Brazilian thinking from reactive to proactive. Instead of waiting for problems and then scrambling for solutions, farmers began designing their entire operations around defensive principles. The smartest farmers realized individual trenches had limitations, but connected systems created regional fortresses. Neighboring farms began coordinating their defenses, creating continuous barrier networks that channeled pig movements away from entire districts rather than just individual properties. These agricultural alliances shared excavation costs, maintenance responsibilities, and even breakthrough monitoring. When one farm's defenses were breached, neighboring farmers received immediate alerts, creating early warning systems that helped entire communities respond faster than individual operations ever could. Modern Brazilian farmers now approach their land like battlefield commanders. They study aerial photographs to identify vulnerability points. They map animal movement patterns like tracking enemy troop positions. They create multiple defensive layers with backup systems for every primary barrier. This strategic thinking extends beyond pig defense. Farmers now plan irrigation systems, equipment storage, and even crop placement with defensive considerations. The result is agricultural operations that are inherently more secure, more efficient, and more profitable than traditional farming methods. Farmers stopped seeing themselves as victims of circumstance and started viewing themselves as active defenders of their livelihood. This mental shift created confidence that translated into better decision-making across all aspects of their operations. But the most remarkable part of this story isn't the strategy or the technology. It's what this means for every single person watching this video right now. When you eat corn, bite into sugarcane, or enjoy any crop grown in southern Brazil, you're consuming food protected by trenches dug by farmers whose names will never appear in history books. These unnamed heroes wage a silent war every day, not for glory or recognition, but for survival. This isn't just about farming, it's about human resilience. In a world where every solution seems to require internet connectivity, smartphone apps, and backup batteries, these farmers prove that sometimes the most ancient tools remain the most effective. A shovel and determination built defenses that billion-dollar technology couldn't match. Their trenches represent something deeper than agricultural innovation. They're proof that when your back is against the wall, human ingenuity finds a way. When expensive solutions fail, simple creativity succeeds. When technology breaks down, basic engineering endures. Every successful harvest protected by these silent trenches feeds families not just in Brazil, but around the world. Every farmer who refuses to surrender keeps food prices stable for millions of people who never see the battles being fought in their name. These farmers don't dig trenches because they love construction work. They dig because giving up isn't an option, because their children need to eat, because losing isn't acceptable when survival is at stake. Sometimes the most sophisticated problems require the most fundamental solutions. Sometimes the best defense is, though, the one that doesn't rely on anything except human determination and the willingness to pick up basic tools and start working. Every trench dug is a reminder that in the silent war between humanity and chaos, ordinary people still refuse to surrender. If this story of quiet determination and practical innovation resonated with you, we want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced a seemingly impossible problem that required thinking outside conventional solutions? Share your experience in the comments below. And if you appreciate stories about real people solving real problems with practical ingenuity, the kind of stories that don't make headlines, but keep the world running, subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue uncovering these hidden tales of human resilience. Thank you for staying until the end. Here's to successful harvests and peaceful nights for farmers everywhere.
They come at dusk, silent, unseen. No one knows exactly where they came from, but by sunrise, the field looks like a war zone, ripped up like after an earthquake. Not wolves, not bears. These are wild hogs, smart, fast, and absolutely destructive. In just 30 years, their numbers have exploded, from 2 million to nearly 9 million across 39 states. They breed so fast, if we don't wipe out at least 60% every year, they take over. This isn't just a wildlife problem, it's a full-blown agricultural nightmare. They cause over $1.5 billion in damage: corn, soybeans, potatoes, irrigation lines, roads, even livestock. Folks used to think a big steel trap was enough, but these animals, they learn. Trap one, and the rest stay away for good. So the fight isn't just trap, catch, kill anymore. It's a war of minds, a quiet battle, happening night after night in rural America. And in Texas, the front line, farmers are building traps so smart, they seem unreal, all to reclaim their land from the shadows of the night. Wild boars aren't native to America, but in just a few decades, their population has exploded, from 2 million in 1990 to nearly 9 million by 2019. And they're still spreading. Today, at least 39 states have reported sightings of this invasive species, from Texas farmland to Georgia pine forests, even the suburbs of California. And the damage is staggering, an estimated $1.5 billion every year. Most of it hitting agriculture. They tear up rice fields, steal corn, churn soil, knock down fences, bust water lines, and even attack farm animals. But what makes them nearly impossible to control isn't their tusks or teeth, it's their intelligence and their insane ability to reproduce. A single sow can give birth to 4 to 6 piglets per litter, twice a year. They travel in groups of 10 to 30, move at night, and are nearly invisible to the human eye. In rural Texas, one farming family went to bed and woke up to find their cornfield ripped apart like it had been hit by a bulldozer. No one saw anything. No cameras, no proof, just hoof prints, claw marks, and a sinking feeling of loss. If we don't find a breakthrough solution, if we keep relying on outdated methods, then one day it won't be us controlling the land, it'll be them. But that leads to a bigger question. Why do modern steel traps, seemingly simple and foolproof, fail to stop them? For decades, farmers across the U.S. have poured millions of dollars into steel traps, cable snares, and iron cages, all in the hope of stopping wild boar from tearing up their land. But the harsh truth? Most of these traps don't work as expected. Not because the traps are wrong, but because people mistake Nub 1. Bad placement. Wild hogs don't just wander randomly. They stick to well-worn paths, routes they travel often, usually near water or food sources. Set a trap too far off course, you'll be staring at an empty cage for days. Mistake Nub 1. Triggering too early. Single trigger traps often catch only 1 or 2 hogs, but hogs travel in groups. The moment one is caught, squealing and panicking, the rest get the message fast. They hear the noise, sense the danger, and avoid the area for weeks. Mistake Nub 1. Not understanding hog psychology. They're nocturnal, active from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. One study from Texas A&M put it plainly. People assume setting a trap is the end of the job. But with wild hogs, it's psychological warfare. If you don't understand the rules of the game, you're going to lose. After years of failed attempts with small-scale traps, Texas farmers finally came to a hard truth. To win the war against wild hogs, you can't catch them one by one. You have to take down the whole herd in a single strike. That's why the corral trap, a circular steel enclosure, has become the weapon of choice. Corral trap, the ultimate wild hog catcher. With a diameter of 30 to 40 feet, 9-12 meters, and reinforced steel mesh walls over 5 feet high, 1.5 meters, it's built to hold strong. The gate is remotely controlled and only shuts once the entire herd has entered. This one-shot trap method can capture 10 to 30 hogs at once, effectively breaking the breeding cycle in a single hit. One clean trap can shut down an entire breeding season. Texas Rancher, alongside the corral system, other trapping methods are used strategically, depending on terrain, herd behavior, and stage of deployment. Drop gate trap, guillotine style. A heavy steel door drops vertically when triggered. Simple to build, quick to close, ideal for catching individual hogs. Not effective for full herds, but useful in isolated cases. Single cage trap with lead bait. A traditional cage with automatic trigger, often used for scouting, to test new baits, observe movement patterns, or identify herd paths. Not sustainable for long-term use, but valuable during early-stage recon. Smart traps, sensor-plus camera systems, equipped with infrared cameras and motion sensors. Farmers monitor activity via smartphone and manually trigger the gate when the time is required. This minimizes false captures and maximizes herd catch efficiency. Overhead net trap. A net is deployed from above when hogs step into a defined area. Highly effective for mid-sized groups 5 to 10 hogs. Costly and terrain-dependent, but extremely efficient in the right conditions. Whether it's a steel trap, a net drop, or high-tech remote systems, success doesn't come from metal alone. What matters most is strategy. Understanding their behavior, movement, and herd psychology is what separates failed attempts from a flawless strike. Because to beat a creature of the night, you don't just need strength. You need to think like a hunter, but trap like a tactician. A good trap doesn't catch hogs by itself. It's just a tool. The real win? That's up to the human behind it. In Texas, the best hog trappers agree. To make a corral trap work, you've got to nail 3 things. Just 3. But get everyone dead right. First, location. Hogs don't wander aimlessly. They stick to paths with water, mud, and shade. Set your trap near a dry creek, where the soil's torn up, tracks are fresh, or the wallow spots look active, and your trap blends right into their routine. Second, timing. Don't just see signs and throw a trap down. A skilled trapper baits first, 3 to 7 days of feeding, gate wide open. Let them come and go. Every visit builds trust. Every bite lowers their guard. When about 80% of the herd walks in like they own the place, that's your moment. One shot, whole pack. Third and most important, herd psychology. Hogs trust nothing, but if one walks in, the rest will follow. But one mistake, human scent, a strange sound, a twitch of suspicion, they vanish, and they don't come back. 3 rules, 1 chance. In hog trapping, miss one bethels, but when you do it right, that steel trap stops being just a cage. It becomes the door that slams shut on a nightmare. Even the best-placed, perfectly timed trap is worthless if the bait isn't tempting enough. Out in the woods, wild hogs have no shortage of food, so to lure them into danger, the bait has to be something they simply can't resist, something worth the risk. One of the most seasoned trappers in Texas once said, "If you want to catch 'em, the bait's gotta stink so bad, even a man can't stand it." The top choice? Fermented corn. Soak it in warm water for about a week until it turns thick, sour, and overpoweringly pungent. To humans, it's disgusting. But to wild hogs, it's a magnet. They'll pick up the scent from far off, follow it in, and if they don't sense danger, come back night after night. The second option, juicy fruit. In the blazing heat of summer, when the streams dry up and the ground cracks, hogs go looking for anything that's moist, sweet, and easy to digest. Halved watermelons, overripe apples, soft peaches. Scattered the right way, at the right moment, these turn into irresistible treats. The third bait, high-protein feed. Some trappers use nutrient-rich pellets meant for domestic pigs, specifically to attract the big boars. They're not drawn to sugar. They're hunting for the scent of meat, of fat, of protein, the promise of a full feast. And then there's one final trick. Rarely mentioned, but incredibly effective. Mix your bait with dirt from an old hog wallow. That familiar scent. Their scent blended with the new food tells them, this place is safe. This place is ours. Because in the art of trapping, bait isn't just something to tempt. It's a calculated invitation, crafted to convince a smart, cautious creature to step forward into a place it can't escape. Wild hogs don't speak, but they remember. Not through words, through instinct. A trap that closes too early, a strange noise in the middle of the night, the faint scent of soap on a leaf. That's all it takes for the entire herd to turn away. Some say hogs are just pests, but not in Texas. Here, they're known as super survivors, and that's exactly what they are. They're not like deer. They move in tight groups. They're not like bears, never alone. Every herd has a lead female, a scout. She's the brain, the sensor. If she senses danger, she doesn't panic or warn. She simply turns around and the rest follow. No sound, no chaos, just a quiet retreat, and once they're gone, they never come back. That's why true trappers don't rely on steel alone. They rely on understanding. They don't just build traps, they build trust. No rushing, no feff. Night 1, just bait. Night 2, bait and stillness. Night 3, the gate stays open. Night 4, some of the herd steps in. And by night 5, they all enter, calm, confident, convinced it's safe. Only then, the trap is sprung. Not because the hogs were foolish, but because the trapper waited. No tricks, no pressure, just the quiet art of making a smart animal believe it chose the path itself. And that is the true craft. The gate slams shut. Steel crashes through the night. The herd panics, huddling together, grunting, squealing in low, guttural tones, as if they know something's gone terribly wrong. But right then, when the trap is closed, is when the trapper must be sharpest, because the trap may have sprung, but the real battle is only beginning. Hesitate now, wait too long, and those squeals, those frantic thuds and screams inside that cage, will carry on the wind, through the trees, and the hogs that weren't caught, the ones still hundreds of yards away, will hear them. They'll know. And not only will they stay away, they might avoid that entire area for months, even years. That's why seasoned trappers are always ready. When the gate drops, the countdown begins. They move fast and quiet. Approach with just enough light to work. Then handle the herd. Cleanly, calmly, according to a plan. No fumbling, no delay. Some use soundproofed livestock trailers, lined and prepped. Others have remote holding pens, far from active hog territory. Every method serves one purpose. Keep it quiet. Keep it clean. Get out fast. Because wild hogs don't forget. If they've ever heard the screams from inside a steel trap, they'll avoid that place like it's cursed. And just like that, a trap that once worked becomes a dead zone. In hog trapping, you can spend a week setting the stage. But when that gate falls, you've only got minutes to seal the deal. If you found this story meaningful, hit like to support the farmers who work day and night to protect their land, and subscribe to join us on more real-life journeys. No filters, no fluff, just the truth. From wild boar trapping to survival skills and life lessons, each video is a genuine slice of rural America. Thanks for watching all the way to the end.
$2.5 billion each year because of one animal. Wild boars, once a mere nuisance, have now become one of the most destructive forces in American agriculture. In Texas alone, their population has exploded past 2.6 million, tearing through crops, breaking fences, and spreading disease faster than fire through dry brush. They don't just devour cornfields or uproot soy. They maul livestock, rip apart fences, and slaughter goats, chickens, even family pets. In some counties, people have reported boars charging at them in broad daylight, unprovoked and feral. Local farmers have tried everything, traps, dogs, fences, but nothing seems to work. So now the battle has moved to the skies. This isn't sport. This is survival. Today you'll witness one of the most daring efforts yet, an aerial assault over the sun-scorched plains of South Texas. How many can they stop before nightfall? And is it ever enough? Stay with us, because what happens in the next few minutes may just change how you see this silent war. Using aircraft is the only way to track these intelligent, elusive creatures through dangerous terrain no man can easily reach. That's what they told me before we lifted off. I thought it was just a figure of speech, until I saw the land for myself. Dense mesquite thickets, cracked ravines, cactus fields stretching for miles. No truck could get through this. No man on foot would last a mile. But from the air, everything changes. Beside me sat Johnny, quiet, steady, rifle resting on his lap. A rancher who'd lost goats, chickens, even 2 horses to the hogs. This wasn't hunting for him, this was payback. Movement. Southeast tree line, Johnny called out. The pilot didn't ask twice. We dipped low, fast. From this angle, the herd looked like oil splattered across the field. Thick, chaotic, fast. Johnny opened fire. 1, 2, 3 shots. The lead boar dropped. The rest scattered, hooves kicking up dust like smoke signals. We gave chase. It felt like war. Each blast of the rifle was followed by a jolt of the helicopter, echoing through my chest. And still, Johnny didn't miss. Every shot was measured, intentional. Another call crackled through the radio. New herd, 2 o'clock, moving fast. Still too many. Hold position. We've got visual. Our helicopter adjusted course immediately. The target appeared, large, fast, and cutting across the open plain. No time for discussion. The pilot dropped the altitude sharply, bringing us just above the treetops. The maneuver was tight, precise, executed perfectly under pressure. This is why the helicopter matters. On foot, that target would vanish in seconds. But up here, we had the angle, the speed, and the reach. Johnny leaned out, eyes locked. The rifle braced firm against the doorframe. Despite the constant vibration, he didn't flinch. First shot, too high. Second, closer. Third, perfect. The target dropped mid-sprint. 1 clean shot. No panic, no chase. Just control. That's what aerial precision looks like. We hovered, scanned the terrain, no further movement. For a moment, the field went silent, except for the low churn of the rotors and the click of Johnny reloading. Then the call came through. New group, East Ridge, lights fading. The helicopter banked immediately. No hesitation. Out here, there's no room for delay. Every second counts. Every shot matters. Because in this war, elevation and accuracy are your only advantage. If you believe this kind of aerial strategy helps protect farmers and livestock, drop a 1 in the comments below. Let's see how many still believe in defending from above. As the last helicopter touched down and the plane sank into silence, we should have felt relief. We didn't. Because in Texas, when the sun sets, the real war begins. Wild boars don't sleep. They wait. They move under darkness. Smarter, faster, more coordinated. And if we rested now, they'd undo everything we'd accomplished. Johnny cleaned his rifle without a word. The team changed gear. Switched to thermals, silencers, low-light scopes. No spotlights, no noise, just the tools for quiet work. Less than an hour in, we spotted them. A herd of 9, weaving through the brush, moving along a fence line like they owned it. The same land we cleared that morning. They were already reclaiming it. We didn't wait. Johnny raised his rifle, took the lead shot. 1 down. We pushed forward. No floodlights. Just thermal silhouettes, steady hands, and the sound of boots and breath. Every few yards, a flash of heat, crosshairs aligned to the head or spine, a silent shot, another hog down. The herd tried to circle around, a common tactic. But this wasn't our first night out. We split, half the team cut west, Johnny and I went east. They ran straight into us. 2 more dropped, both hit at the base of the skull, the sweet spot. Another shot cracked, clean, another. Within 10 minutes, 8 of 9 were down. The last one disappeared into a gulch. Johnny didn't even speak, just nodded and took off after it. Moments later, one sharp shot echoed, right behind the ear, clean. We regrouped under a patch of mesquite, breathing heavy but calm. The sky was quiet again. But it wouldn't last, because in this war, daylight may bring battles, but darkness brings the reckoning. If you're still with us, comment a 2 below to let us know you joined this night fight. By the time first light broke over the fields, the last shot had already been fired. No one celebrated. We didn't come here for that. We gathered what was left. Shells in the dirt, prints in the mud, and silence that didn't feel like peace. It felt like a pause. Because we both knew. This wasn't victory. This was maintenance. Wild boars don't quit. They hide, multiply, return. And they only need one night to undo months of labor. So we stay ready. Scopes tuned, gear packed, no illusions. This isn't about hunting for sport. This is defense for the land, for the crops, for the families who depend on both. Are we protecting our land or just pushing the problem further? By midday, we were back home, dust-covered, bone-tired. The fields looked quiet, but we knew it was temporary, the kind of silence that comes before the next wave. I sat on the tailgate, boots caked in mud, watching the horizon. It's strange. You take down 50 hogs in a day, and it still feels like you didn't do enough, because tomorrow there could be 50 more. Out here, we don't ask for recognition. We just want one thing, to be heard. When wild boars tear through your crops, kill your goats, your chickens, or worse, charge at your kid in the backyard, you stop asking for help. You pick up your rifle. But still, I wonder, are we doing enough or just delaying the inevitable? Can we win this war, or will the land belong to the hogs one day? Let me know what you think. Farmer to farmer, man to man, your thoughts matter. There in the sky, everything looks smaller. The fences, the crops, even the boars. But as the rotors spin and the earth falls away beneath us, something else becomes clear. This war isn't just about pigs. It's about pride. About people who refuse to give up the land their fathers built with calloused hands and stubborn hearts. From the cockpit, I've watched it all. Boars charging through corn rows like tanks. Families watching their livestock torn apart, kids too scared to play outside. And every time I raise that rifle, I'm not just shooting an animal. I'm defending a way of life. Johnny once told me, If we don't fight for this land, who will? He's right, because no matter how far the boars spread, how many come back, we'll always rise with the sun, load our gear, and fight again. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Out here, there's no trophy, no glory, just dirt, sweat, and the silent promise we make every morning. Protect what's ours, or lose it. You've seen it with your own eyes. The chaos, the chase, the cost of doing nothing. And maybe you're not flying choppers or pulling triggers. But if you've ever worked the land, cared for animals, or watched a season's work disappear overnight, you're part of this fight too. So if these stories speak to something in you, the grit, the stubbornness, the love for soil and sky, subscribe, because we're not done telling them. There are more battles, more voices, and more reasons to stand our ground. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next mission. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Every voice matters. We'll see you back in the skies soon. Right now, across 38 states, wild boars are multiplying faster than any invasive species in American history. They carry diseases that can wipe out entire livestock operations. They destroy ecosystems that took centuries to establish. And they're winning. But hidden within this agricultural catastrophe lies an unexpected transformation, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about pest control. From East Texas to the Carolinas, farmers have discovered revolutionary methods to minimize the devastating damage while transforming these 300-pound destroyers into managed herds. They're raising wild boars in controlled environments, turning uncontrollable pests into systematic protein production worth 20 per pound. What you are about to learn goes deeper than survival tactics. This is about farmers who refuse to become victims, communities that turned crisis into cooperation, and an emerging industry born from ecological disaster. You'll discover tracking methods passed down through generations, processing techniques that determine life or death, and the controversial debate dividing agricultural communities. Should we eradicate these invaders completely, or has America's worst pest become its newest sustainable protein source? It's no coincidence that wild boars have become every farmer's nightmare. What breaks my heart about this crisis is understanding how we created it ourselves. 3 generations of farmers paying for decisions made centuries ago. These animals aren't native to the Americas. The first boars were brought to the continent in the 16th century by European explorers like Christopher Columbus. Then in the 19th century, and here's where human arrogance planted seeds that farmers still harvest today, another wave was imported from Europe, purely for sport hunting by wealthy landowners who had no idea what they were unleashing. But what happened next reveals the terrible mathematics of ecological disruption. Many escaped into the wild, reproduced with the efficiency that would make any livestock farmer envious, and became an unstoppable threat. Wild boars grow fast and move with surprising agility through forests, rivers, and the very fields that represent generations of family investment. The numbers tell a story that should concern every American. A single herd can destroy an entire cornfield overnight. Imagine waking up to find months of dawn-to-dusk work obliterated in hours. They compete ruthlessly for food with native species like deer and turkeys, and even raid the nests of endangered animals like the gopher tortoise. But what farmers fear most isn't just the property damage. Wild boars are carriers of diseases that can spread to livestock, including foot and mouth disease and African swine fever. When you've invested everything in cattle and hogs, these diseases represent total financial ruin. Not just crop loss, but the destruction of breeding programs built over decades. Here's where most people don't understand the weight farmers carry. In some cases, these animals can even attack pets or humans when protecting their young. Every farmer I know has stories about close encounters that remind you why we respect these creatures, even as we fight them. The scale of this battle becomes clear when you realize that across America, wild boars now inhabit 38 states and continue expanding their territory. Yet even these staggering figures don't capture the human cost. The sleepless nights spent planning defenses, the ruined harvests that threaten family legacies, the generational farms pushed toward decisions no farmer should face. But what James Thompson discovered next would change how we think about fighting back. One of the pioneers in fighting back against this invasion is James Thompson, a 70-year-old farmer whose East Texas operation represents 4 generations of family dedication. His transformation from defender to entrepreneur reveals the kind of innovation that defines American agriculture.
After losing nearly a fifth of my corn crop to wild boars, that's 3 months of dawn to dusk work gone overnight. I realized fighting them wasn't enough. You don't know heartbreak until you see your fields destroyed while knowing families depend on that harvest. But you also don't know determination until you decide to turn the tables.
James began learning tracking with the patience of a hunter and the strategic mind of someone protecting their life's work.
I look for footprints in morning dew, torn up soil that looks like a battlefield, and signs near rivers where they cool off. Every dawn, I'm out there before sunrise, not just checking damage anymore, but planning my next move.
The real breakthrough came when James shifted from defense to opportunity. By 21, when farming costs nearly broke his operation, wild boar meat became his lifeline. Selling at the local market each week brings in enough to keep the farm running without loan. You transform from victim to victor, from defender to provider. His story now echoes across Texas, where farmers are converting destructive pests into valuable resources. It's practical American problem solving that feeds local communities while controlling an invasive species. But the process requires skills most people never imagine. Which region are you watching this video from? Drop your location in the comments below. We'd love to know where our Tech Motion community is tuning in from today. Once trapped, the most critical moment arrives, one that separates experienced farmers from amateurs attempting this work. Farmers typically aim for the head to ensure quick, ethical dispatch because disease transmission threatens not just the meat, but entire livestock operations. What most people don't realize about this precision is that it requires steady hands developed over decades of livestock work. After 40 years managing cattle and hogs, explains veteran farmer Rebecca Martinez, wild boar processing demands different techniques. These animals are leaner, more muscular. You need to understand anatomy in ways veterinary school never taught. Every step from cleaning and skinning to butchering must be executed flawlessly, with gloves worn not from squeamishness, but survival instinct. The meat requires immediate chilling on ice. Dining determines whether you're creating safe food or risking family health. Here's where the craft becomes art. Unlike industrial meat operations where machines do the work, wild boar processing happens by hand, one animal at a time. Each cut requires reading muscle fiber, understanding fat distribution, respecting the animal that died to feed families. But what happens next reveals the sophisticated network that transforms frontier necessity into commercial opportunity. While some farmers prepare meat for their own families, most rely on professional facilities that understand the delicate balance between food safety and economic viability. One such operation is Broken Arrow Ranch, which processes between 1,500 and 1,700 wild boars annually. Here's where precision becomes profit and responsibility becomes reputation. Processors select only animals weighing between 80 and 180 pounds, the sweet spot for tender, flavorful meat with reduced disease risk. Experienced handlers often prefer animals under 70 pounds because they're easier to manage and consistently offer superior meat quality. When you're processing wild protein that feeds families across Texas, explains facility manager Tom Rodriguez, there's no margin for error. We sort cuts like shoulder, belly, ribs, and loin with the same care a jeweler uses in handling precious stones. Every decision affects both safety and quality. The wild boar meat undergoes strict USDA inspections that would surprise most consumers. Across the entire United States, only 15 facilities are certified to handle wild boar meat. That's how serious the disease risk becomes when standards slip. Workers wear gloves, sanitize knives between every cut, and disinfect surfaces with the dedication of surgical teams. This isn't paranoia. It's professional pride in meeting food safety standards that protect both producers and consumers. Yet the question that's dividing agricultural communities remains contentious. Should we completely eradicate wild boars as invasive species, or maintain controlled populations for sustainable food production? This question reveals the complexity facing modern farmers who must balance ecological responsibility with economic survival. Every farmer I know struggles with this, admits James Thompson. These animals are destroying native ecosystems, but they're also putting food on tables and money in farm accounts. We're not just managing pests, we're making decisions about how Americans eat. When communities participate in coordinated trapping programs, the benefits multiply. Farmland recovers, native plants return, wildlife populations stabilize. Plus, harvested meat provides income for struggling farms or feeds families directly through food banks and community programs. The emerging solution combines the best of both approaches, but it requires innovation that's changing how we think about sustainable protein. A growing number of farmers now raise wild boars in controlled environments, transforming chaotic pest management into systematic protein production. These operations represent agricultural evolution, taking lessons learned from crisis and building sustainable solutions. We're not just feeding animals, explains controlled environment farmer Maria Santos. We're managing nutrition to create perfect balance between wild flavor and food safety. These boars receive calculated diets of corn, soybeans, and barley, combined with alfalfa, hay, and leafy greens that mimic natural foraging behaviors. The attention to detail rivals any premium livestock operation. Scheduled feeding reduces aggression, while constant health monitoring ensures consistent quality. Fresh fruits and vegetables supplement their diet. Watching 300-pound boars respond to fresh apples reminds you that good nutrition creates better meat, whether wild or farmed. After managing cattle for 20 years, Maria continues, controlled boar farming requires different instincts. You're working with animals that retain wild intelligence. They're not domesticated, just contained. Every day brings decisions that affect both animal welfare and meat quality. This emerging practice offers clean, high-quality protein while reducing ecological pressure from wild populations. But the real revelation comes when you see what this meat offers compared to conventional alternatives. If you found this video fascinating and worth watching, comment 1 below. If not, be honest, comment 0. Wild boar meat delivers nutritional superiority that justifies premium pricing. Compared to conventional pork, it contains 20% less fat while providing more protein, iron, zinc, and B vitamins. A 3-ounce serving delivers just 143 calories and 4.5 grams of fat, significantly leaner than standard pork products. When customers taste the difference, notes farmers market vendor David Chen. They understand why we charge $15 to $20 per pound. This isn't just meat. It's proof that American farmers can turn environmental challenges into nutritional solutions. Products like wild boar sausage, cured meats, and bacon command premium prices for their bold flavor profile and nutritional density. Restaurants across the country now feature wild boar on menus, while organic grocery stores stock it alongside grass-fed beef and heritage pork. These benefits are driving wild boar meat into upscale establishments and health-conscious households nationwide. Proof that crisis becomes opportunity when American determination meets consumer education. But understanding the complete journey requires seeing how community involvement amplifies these benefits. Texas law allows wild boar hunting year-round, a necessity when facing an invasive species that reproduces faster than traditional control methods can manage. The federal government spends millions annually helping farmers develop management strategies, yet the most effective solutions come from communities working together. Government programs help, acknowledges James Thompson, but when fertilizer costs triple and diesel hits $5 a gallon, you can't wait for bureaucracy. Communities that trap together succeed together. Shared knowledge, shared equipment, shared profits. Successful trapping requires deploying cage traps, box traps, and drop nets near feeding areas, baited with high-fiber foods that attract healthy, well-nourished animals ideal for processing. The expertise farmers share includes location scouting, bait timing, and processing techniques that transform community problems into community resources. When farmers collaborate on trapping programs, benefits multiply exponentially. Agricultural lands recover faster, native wildlife returns sooner, and harvested meat provides income or direct food security for participating families. It's problem solving that builds community resilience while addressing ecological challenges. This collaborative approach represents something profound about American values: the willingness to transform crisis through cooperation. The story of wild boars and the farmers who fight them teaches us something profound. True strength isn't avoiding problems, it's transforming them into solutions. James Thompson and thousands like him prove that American agriculture succeeds because farmers possess the wisdom to adapt, the courage to innovate, and the determination to turn ecological disaster into economic opportunity. This is resilience measured in dawn patrols and midnight trap checks, in calloused hands that transform threats into sustenance. These farmers remind us that behind every meal lies someone who refused to surrender to circumstances beyond their control. Support your local farmers. Try wild boar meat when you find it. And remember, sustainability isn't a corporate buzzword. It's survival transformed into stewardship. But James's story only scratches the surface of this remarkable battle. The sophisticated trapping methods farmers use to capture millions of these intelligent animals will absolutely shock you. Click the video above or check the description below. What you'll see next reveals hunting techniques so ingenious, they'll change how you think about wildlife management forever. Hog at 2 o'clock, big one. Every night in America, more than 6 million wild hogs roam free. Together, they cause over $2 billion in damage each year, a financial blow greater than most natural disasters.
I don't want feral swine in this state.
A single herd can wipe out an entire field in hours, leaving behind a wasteland of torn soil, broken fences, and shattered livelihoods. And they don't stop. They breed twice a year, 6 to 12 piglets at a time, multiplying faster than any farmer can defend against. Here's what most people never see. These animals are cunning. They learn from every shot, every trap, every failed attempt to stop them. That's why for 3 days and 3 nights without sleep, we joined the largest campaign ever mounted in our community. Hunters on foot, dogs in pursuit, drones in the air, even helicopters overhead. This isn't hunt, it's survival, a fight for the land itself. The meeting took place in the heart of the village, under the same tin-roofed barn where generations had gathered to face droughts, floods, and storms. But this time, the threat wasn't the weather. It was alive and multiplying. Word had spread fast. A massive sounder of wild hogs, numbering in the hundreds, had been spotted near the valley. If left unchecked, they would rip through the cornfields in a matter of nights. So the farmers did what their fathers and grandfathers had done before them. They organized. But unlike past generations, they had technology, weapons, and a strategy born from years of lessons, both painful and costly. I was asked to lead as overall coordinator, not because I was the best shot, but because I knew how to bring together men of different experience and temper. Each team had its own leader, each with strengths forged in the field. Uncle David, the trapper turned night hunter. Calm, steady, patient. He would command the thermal night team. His reputation was clear. If anyone could bring hogs into range under cover of darkness, it was him. Tom, the pilot. He had spent years in the air, crop dusting fields, then turned his skill to hog control. With his Robinson R-44 helicopter, he gave us eyes in the sky and firepower from above. Adam, the woodsman, leader of the day team, with a pack of dogs and the sharp eye of a man who could read every trail. For him, the forest was an open book, and hogs could not turn a page without leaving a mark. And myself, the narrator of the story, tasked with keeping all pieces moving, ensuring that no herd could slip through the cracks. We laid out the battle plan. Adam's team with dogs and drones would strike first during daylight, driving hogs from the orchards and tracking them through the underbrush. Tom's helicopter unit would take the second push, sweeping across the plains, cutting down groups before they reached the tree line. And when the sun dropped, Uncle David's night hunters would move in, using thermal scopes to finish what the day could not. 3 days, 3 nights, one campaign. But we also knew the risks. Hogs are no ordinary adversary. They are cunning. They circle back, feign retreat, even sacrifice juveniles to protect a sow. And with tusks as sharp as knives and bodies weighing over 250 pounds, a charging boar can kill a dog, cripple a horse, or even gore a man. As I looked around that barn, I saw faces lined by years in the field. Some were farmers defending their livelihoods. Some were hunters answering a call. All knew that sleep would be a luxury we could not afford. We shook hands, loaded gear, checked rifles, and set the clock. At sunrise, Adam's dogs would lead the first charge. And so began the largest wild hog campaign we had ever attempted. But as we would soon learn, the hogs were waiting for us, and they had no intention of giving ground without a fight. The morning mist was still heavy when the drone picked up movement. 15 hogs scattered near the orchard, rooting deep into the soil. Adam raised his hand. Dogs were released. The silence broke instantly. Barking tore through the orchard as the pack charged into the thickets. A sow burst into the open, running low and fast. One rifle cracked. She stumbled, then collapsed just short of the tree line. Before the smoke cleared, another shadow lunged from cover. This one was a boar, massive, close to 300 pounds. He came straight at the line, tusks gleaming. The hounds scattered. 2 hunters fired in unison. The boar spun, skidded in the dirt, and fell with a thud that shook the ground. The herd scattered in chaos. 3 juveniles tried to slip left through the rows of trees. The dogs cut them off, snapping and circling until rifles dropped each one in turn. 2 more broke right, aiming for open ground. Both were taken down before they cleared the slope. Gunfire echoed across the valley. Every few minutes, another hog appeared, desperate to break the line. One black shape darted from the brush, so close it nearly bowled a hunter over. He fired point blank. The hog fell just feet away, the shot ringing in everyone's ears. The drone buzzed above, guiding the men towards stragglers. On the far edge of the orchard, 4 hogs clustered together, trying to hold ground under the trees. The hunters closed in, dogs snapping at their flanks. A volley of shots rang out. When the dust cleared, all 4 lay still among the roots. That should have been the end, but the orchard was alive with movement. Another giant appeared, charging through the rows as if to tear through the line. The hounds bayed furiously, holding it just long enough. A single rifle cracked. The beast dropped mid-stride, rolling hard into the dirt. By the time the sun broke through, the tally had climbed to 15 hogs. 5 were giants, each one weighing over 250 pounds. Their tusks long and sharp, their bodies thick with muscle. 10 more lay scattered through the orchard rows, smaller but just as destructive. For the men, it was a hard-won fight. Sweat, dust, rifles reloaded again and again. For the dogs, it was a battle of endurance, each chase pressing deeper into the thickets, each squeal echoing louder than the last. The morning's hunt had been fierce, but as the drone circled higher, its thermal lens showed more shapes far beyond the orchard, slipping deeper into the valley, untouched. The bulk of the herd was still out there. Adam stood over one of the fallen giants, his voice low. "These aren't the herd. These are only the first." The men reloaded, dogs panting hard, dust still thick in the air. 15 hogs had fallen, but it was clear the real fight had yet to come. When darkness came, Uncle David's team would face the heart of the herd. The second day, the battle moved to the skies. Tom lifted the Robinson R-44, rotors chopping through the morning air. Below, the field stretched wide, scarred with rooting marks. From above, the damage was impossible to miss. Lines of soil torn as if plowed by machines. But it wasn't farmers' work. It was hogs. The first sighting came fast. A cluster of 30 hogs scattered across an open pasture, moving quick but exposed. Tom steadied the chopper, holding it low and level. The rifle came up. A single shot cracked, and the lead sow crumpled mid-stride. The herd panicked, surging in all directions. 3 broke left, sprinting for the tree line. Shots echoed, one after another. 2 fell before reaching cover. The third made it into the brush. On the right flank, a boar, close to 250 pounds, tried to turn back across the field. A burst of fire dropped him rolling into the grass. Hogs can sprint at nearly 30 miles an hour. On open ground, they rely on speed, but from the air, speed gives them no escape. The helicopter banked hard. Ahead, another wave of hogs, nearly 40 strong, cut across the farmland. They ran tight, shoulder to shoulder, their numbers giving them courage. Tom adjusted altitude, hovering low enough to keep them in the open. Gunfire rolled steady. The first 5 fell in quick succession, bodies tumbling in the churned earth. The herd broke, some rushing for the riverbank, others scattering toward the woods. The helicopter circled again, pressing them back into the open. One by one, more went down. For nearly 20 minutes, the sky was filled with thunder. The steady chop of blades, the crack of rifles, the chaos of hogs fleeing in every direction. When the smoke cleared, more than 20 hogs lay across the field. But even from above, not all could be taken. Now, several slipped into the tree line, using dense cover as shield. Tom cursed under his breath. They know where to run. Hogs adapt fast. Pressured in open fields, they learn to break for cover. Once inside timber, even a helicopter loses its advantage. That's why air support must work in tandem with ground teams. We circled back, scanning the edges. Near the far ridge, a giant boar broke cover. Broad, black, tusks white against the sunlight. He sprinted full force, as if daring the sky itself. One clean shot rang out. The beast stumbled, slid across the slope, and lay still. By the time Tom set the helicopter down, the day's tally had grown by dozens. The fields were scattered with bodies, giants and juveniles alike. For the farmers below, it was a sight of relief. For us, it was a reminder. Because even with the power of the skies, even with speed and fire, many had escaped into the woods, and night would bring them back. The day belonged to Tom and the chopper, but the night would belong to Uncle David and the hogs waiting in the dark. When the sun dropped behind the ridge, silence settled over the valley. But for Uncle David's team, the hunt was only beginning. Thermal scopes flickered to life, cutting through the darkness. On the screen, the forest glowed, branches cool, soil gray, and there in the distance, dozens of white-hot shapes moving slowly across the fields. The herd. The men moved into position, rifles steady, yeets held tight on leash. Every breath felt louder in the still air. Then Uncle David whispered, "Now!" The first volley cracked through the night. Muzzles flashed, dogs lunged, and the herd erupted. Hogs squealed, charging in every direction. 3 dropped instantly. A 4th staggered before collapsing in the grass. But the rest ran. Through the scopes, their bodies lit up like streaks of fire, weaving fast through the brush. Hunters swung rifles side to side, picking targets as they crossed. One fell at the tree line, another tumbled down the slope. At night, hogs rely almost entirely on smell and sound. Their eyesight is weak, which makes thermal optics the most effective weapon against them. The chase carried into the low ground near the marsh. Mud splashed, dogs barked, gunfire echoed back from the ridges. A giant boar burst from the reeds, charging headlong at a handler. In that instant, another hunter fired from 10 yards. The boar spun, crashed into the water, and lay still. "Keep moving," David shouted. The team pressed hard, their scopes scanning constantly. More white shapes appeared on the ridge above, at least 20, clustered together. The hunters took aim, waited for the line to form, then fired in unison. The volley lit the night sky. 6 hogs fell in seconds, their bodies tumbling down the slope, crashing into brush. But the chaos cut both ways. In the confusion, a group of juveniles slipped past the flank. Dogs broke loose, chasing them through the tall grass. The hunters followed, sprinting to keep up. Shots rang out in bursts, one after another, until the cries faded into silence. By midnight, the field was littered with bodies. Dozens had fallen. Big boars, heavy sows, and countless smaller hogs. The men reloaded, sweat cutting lines through the dust on their faces. A single sow can produce 2 litters a year, 6 to 12 piglets each time. That's why high numbers must be taken in every hunt, anything less, and the herd will rebound within months. As the night deepened, the herd grew more desperate. A cluster of 10 broke for the far ridge, running tight together. David raised his scope, tracked the lead hog, and fired. One fell, then another and another. The rest scattered into the trees. For 5 hours, the forest roared, gunfire, squeals, dogs baying, men shouting. Then, at last, silence returned. When the team regrouped, more than 30 hogs lay across the fields and ridges. It was a victory, hard-earned in darkness. But David's words cut through the relief. This was only one pocket. They're still out there. The men looked toward the tree line, where the drone still traced faint shapes slipping deeper into cover. The night had been ours, but the war was far from finished. We had taken dozens under the cover of night. But the herd was vast, and on the second night, the fight would shift to the deep forest, where the giants ruled. If you enjoyed this video, comment 1 below. If not, comment 0. The third morning came clear and sharp. No mist, no cover. Perfect hunting light. The drone went up first. Within minutes, the feed showed them. A mass of white shapes moving near the forest edge, at least 40 hogs. This was the last group. Adam loosed the hounds. The forest erupted. A wave of hogs burst from cover, hooves pounding, tusks flashing. The first shots cracked. 2 dropped instantly, rolling into the dirt. The rest split in panic, half for the creek, half pushing deeper into the woods. "Left flank!" Uncle David shouted. His team cut fast, rifles raised. Near the creek, 3 hogs went down in quick succession. A massive sow spun on the dogs, roaring. Adam fired once. She dropped before she could strike. On the ridge, I saw a giant boar charging down slope, nearly as wide as a horse. The dogs held him for seconds, just long enough. A volley of fire brought him tumbling end over end. Above us, Tom's helicopter swooped low. From the sky, the herd's full size was clear. Dozens still moving, desperate to escape. His rifle barked from above. One hog collapsed mid-run. Another spun sideways, crashing into the brush. The rest broke formation, running blind into the kill zones below. The ground shook with the chase. Dogs bayed and lunged, hunters fired in bursts, and hogs screamed as volleys echoed across the valley. Every time one slipped for cover, another team was waiting. One fell in the creek, another at the ridge. 3 more in the orchard rows. Hogs are fast, nearly 30 miles an hour, but speed means little when surrounded from every side. The fight lasted nearly 20 minutes. By the time the firing slowed, the slope was littered with bodies. Over 30 hogs lay still, giants, sows, juveniles alike. The dogs circled restlessly, but no more movement came. Tom hovered overhead for one final pass. Nothing moved. The drone showed only cooling bodies. The herd was finished. We lowered rifles. The air was heavy with dust, smoke, and the smell of churned soil. 3 days, 3 nights, and now the last push was done. The valley was quiet again. The herd was broken, but even in victory, we knew the war with wild hogs never truly ends. "3 days, 3 nights. Over 200 hogs removed from the valley. 15 fell on the first morning, dozens more under Tom's helicopter, and the final 30 in the last furious pursuit. The ground was scarred, but the fields were safe again. For the first time in weeks, farmers stood tall, relief plain on their faces. Wild hogs cost the U.S. more than $2.5 billion a year. Left unchecked, their population doubles within 5 years. Every hunt is more than sport, it's survival. This campaign proved one lesson. No single method is enough. Drones spotted them. Dogs flushed them. The helicopter broke their lines. At night, thermal scopes turn the dark to our advantage. Alone, each tool falters. Together they work. We had made mistakes, lost chances at the orchard, hesitations in the timber, but each became a lesson. Patience, timing, and unity had carried us through. As the sun set on the 3rd day, the valley was silent. No squeals in the night, no fresh rooting in the fields. For the farmers, it meant more than victory. It meant peace, at least for a time. This battle was won, but with hogs multiplying so fast, the war for America's farmland is far from over. When the last gunshot echoed into silence, the hunt was finished, but the work was far from over. Each hog had to be inspected and dealt with properly. The first step was classification. Small hogs, the weak or sick, and any showing signs of disease were destroyed immediately, buried deep according to state regulation. It was the only way to protect the water, livestock, and families who lived from this land. The healthy animals were divided. Some were processed right there in the village. Hunters dressed the carcasses. Fires were built high, and thick cuts of meat roasted slowly over the flames. The heat wasn't just for taste. It was essential for safety. Wild hogs often carry parasites and disease. The only way to enjoy their meat safely is to cook it thoroughly over high heat until no trace of risk remained. That evening, families gathered by the fire pits. The smell of smoke and seasoned meat filled the air. After 3 relentless days of dust, sweat, and fear, the people of the valley sat together, eating the very symbol of their survival. What had come to destroy their land now became the meal that brought them together. The rest, over 100 strong, healthy hogs, were sold to licensed processing companies where strict standards ensured the meat would be safely handled and distributed. The return was more than $10,000, money that helped farmers begin to repair what had been lost in the fields. Wild hog meat is leaner than domestic pork, rich in protein and packed with minerals like iron and zinc. When processed correctly, it turns a pest into nourishment. But beyond the meals and the money, the true victory lay in something deeper. Farmers, hunters, neighbors, everyone had stood shoulder to shoulder, fighting together against a threat greater than any one of them could face alone. Final message: the hogs tested our strength, but they also reminded us of something greater, that when people unite, share hardship, and stand as one, no challenge is too great to overcome. The campaign ended with more than 200 hogs removed. The land was safer, the fields could recover, and families could finally rest. But what mattered most wasn't just the numbers, it was how people came together. Farmers, hunters, neighbors, each brought their part. Dogs on the ground, drones in the air, rifles steady, and the helicopter overhead. Alone, none of it would have been enough. But together it worked. That unity turned fear into strength, and strength into victory. Wild hogs remain one of the fastest growing threats in America, doubling their numbers in just a few years. Hunts like this are not sport, they are survival, and they require everyone's effort. Looking back, the hardest fights gave us the clearest lesson. When people stand side by side, even the toughest battles can be won. Final message: against wild hogs, or any challenge, our greatest weapon is unity. If you've faced wild hogs in your area, share your story in the comments. And if you missed the earlier hunts, click the playlist on screen to watch how this fight began. Scientists warn that North America faces an ecological disaster unlike anything in recorded history. A plague of razor-toothed invaders spreading faster than any containment effort can match.
It is the dark of night and the hunt is on for wild pigs in Texas, where they have a big pig problem.
Across rural Texas, this crisis has created a bizarre survival economy where farmers make more money trapping destructive pests than growing food.
Wild hogs that have made their way to Texas, and we're doing everything we can to keep them out.
Every week, landowners sell 200 to 400 feral hogs to hunting operations, turning agricultural devastation into desperate profit because traditional farming has become nearly impossible.
In the culture is hog hunting out here.
Everybody does it. If you can hold a gun or drive in a truck, people are hunting them.
They're feral hogs, an invasive army that's been quietly conquering American farmland for decades. A single group of 10 can explode into over 300 animals in just 2 years, creating agricultural devastation that costs farmers $2.5 billion annually. Traditional solutions, steel gates costing thousands, high-tech sensors, even organized hunts, have only made the problem worse. But what if the answer wasn't expensive technology or brute force? What if a solution costing less than $200 could capture an entire herd in complete silence? Deep in rural America, farmers have discovered something that defies every assumption about animal control. No doors, no engines, no noise, just a simple net that turns the hog's own intelligence against them. Today, TechMotion reveals this breakthrough that's saving American farms, proving sometimes the most powerful solutions hide in plain sight. Picture walking through your grandfather's cornfield at dawn, expecting to see neat rows stretching toward the horizon. Instead, you find what looks like a battlefield. Soil churned into chaos. Months of careful cultivation destroyed in a single night.
I don't want feral swine in this state.
This is the reality facing American farmers from Texas to Florida, victims of an invasion 4 centuries in the making. Most people don't realize these destroyers aren't supposed to be here. Feral hogs represent centuries of biological mixing. Domestic pigs that escaped colonial farms, blended with European wild boars imported for sport hunting. What started as scattered escapees has evolved into a continental plague. These adaptive survivors now occupy more than 35 states spreading farther each year with the persistence of a slow-motion natural disaster. Here's where the mathematics become terrifying. A single sow produces 2, sometimes 3 litters annually, each containing 6 to 14 piglets. Start with just 10 animals. Within 24 months, you're facing hundreds. Wildlife biologists call this phenomenon a biological time bomb, and the fuse burns faster than any containment effort can match. The devastation unfolds on multiple fronts. These indiscriminate feeders tear through agricultural landscapes with industrial efficiency, powerful snouts ripping apart soil, destroying crops, eroding riverbanks. They devour bird eggs, consume reptiles and insects, systematically reducing biodiversity wherever they establish territory. For American agriculture, the annual toll exceeds $2.5 billion in lost harvests, ruined equipment, and damaged ecosystems. But statistics can't capture the personal anguish. Ask any landowner who's watched a season's worth of sweat, an investment reduced to ruins overnight. What takes months to nurture can vanish in hours, and traditional methods of control have proven tragically inadequate against an enemy that breeds faster than bullets can fly. This helplessness drives farmers to desperate measures, yet conventional solutions only make the problem worse. Desperate farmers don't surrender without a fight. Armed with rifles and determination, thousands of hunters descend on southern fields each year, hoping bullets can solve what biology created. Yet wildlife experts reveal a troubling truth. Every shot fired actually makes the problem worse. Here's what happens next that most people never see. When gunfire erupts, these highly social groups, called sounders, don't just run. They fragment into smaller, more paranoid units scattered across the landscape. What was once a manageable herd of 20 becomes 4 separate groups of 5, each now educated about human danger and nearly impossible to locate again. The landowner celebrates removing a handful, but the survivors adapt, multiply, and return under cover of darkness with hard-earned wariness. Conventional cage traps seemed like the logical next step. Most feature a single entrance with a spring-loaded door designed to slam shut when triggered. The fatal flaw reveals itself in real time. The first hog enters and gets caught, but the rest of the sounder witnesses everything from outside. Panic ensues. The survivors bolt, and their intelligence ensures they'll never approach that location again. Engineering tried to solve this with drop-gate traps, massive steel structures costing thousands of dollars. On paper, they promise whole herd efficiency. Reality proves more expensive. The mechanisms frequently jam mid-operation, slamming shut empty while startled hogs scatter with ear-splitting squeals. Even when functioning perfectly, premature triggers catch only 1 or 2 animals, while the rest observe and learn. This fundamental error plagues every traditional approach, treating the crisis as individual animal removal rather than group elimination. Intelligence and social structure make feral hogs nearly impossible to fool twice. The breakthrough that changes everything requires abandoning conventional wisdom entirely and embracing what initially seems impossible. For countless American farmers, the struggle against feral hogs is a fight they never asked for. Imagine investing months of labor into a cornfield, only to wake up and find the entire crop destroyed in a single night. It is more than lost income. It is the crushing weight of knowing that a season's worth of sweat and sacrifice has been reduced to ruins by a herd of animals. Jack, a landowner in the South, faced this reality more times than he cares to remember. "One night can wipe you out," he recalled, describing the helplessness of watching hogs outsmart trap after trap. Hunting didn't work. Drop gates failed, and steel cages only caught a few while the rest learned to stay away. But Jack refused to give up. Through trial, error, and persistence, he came across a method so simple it seemed impossible at first glance. That method became known as the pig brig. The pig brig looks deceptively simple. At first sight, it is nothing more than a circular wall of netting held upright by posts and rope. There are no doors, no gates, no engines, and no heavy machinery. Yet this design turns out to be its greatest strength. Here's how it works. Wild hogs are natural diggers. They push their way under fences and barriers using their snouts. The pig brig takes advantage of this instinct. The lower edge of the net is designed to be flexible enough for hogs to nudge their way inside. But once they've entered, their frantic search for an exit leads them in circles. There is no door to find, no corner to break through, only the same high mesh wall surrounding them. What felt like an open invitation becomes a trap with no escape. From a technical standpoint, the advantages are striking. Unlike steel gate systems, the pig brig requires no electricity, no sensors, and no mechanical triggers. It makes no noise when activated, removing the very signal that usually scares hogs away. Farmers report that in a single night, one trap can contain up to 45 animals at once, including the sow, her piglets, and the younger males. That means entire sounders can be removed in a single operation, preventing the cycle of reproduction that makes hog control so difficult. Equally important, the trap is practical. It can be transported in the back of a pickup truck, assembled in less than an hour, and reused across multiple sites. For many landowners, this combination of simplicity and efficiency makes the pig brig not just a tool, but a turning point in the fight against feral hogs. But building the trap is only the beginning. To make it work in the field, farmers must follow a careful process. If you found this video fascinating and worth watching, comment 1 below. If not, be honest, comment 0. Jack's breakthrough sounds deceptively simple, until you realize that containing a 300-pound charging boar requires engineering precision disguised as farmyard simplicity. Building a pig brig demands attention to details that separate success from catastrophic failure. Every component must withstand tremendous force while appearing completely non-threatening to highly intelligent prey. Step 1. Creating the foundation. The process begins with T-posts driven deep into earth, arranged in a perfect circle like spokes of an invisible wheel. This isn't casual fence work. Each post anchors against forces that would demolish conventional barriers. When properly positioned, the framework resembles a fortress foundation designed to hold back an army. Step 2. The net that sings. Next comes the mesh itself, stretched between posts with guitar string tension. Properly installed netting can withstand over 6,000 pounds of pressure, enough force to stop a charging sounder dead in its tracks. Cam straps connect post to post, eliminating vibrations that might signal danger to approaching hogs. When wind catches perfectly tensioned mesh, experienced trappers know the sound. A low harmonic hum that means the difference between victory and disaster. Step 3. The psychological edge. The trap's genius lies in its bottom edge, angled at precisely 45 degrees into soil. This subtle engineering exploits the hog's strongest instinct against them. They can nudge inward using natural rooting behavior. But as they push deeper, the net tightens like a closing fist. What feels like easy entry becomes impossible escape. A one-way passage, engineered by understanding animal psychology. Step 4. The final lure. At the circle's heart, farmers spread exactly 100 pounds of corn in a ring 3 to 4 feet wide. Placement proves critical. Hogs must commit their entire bodies inside the perimeter before reaching food. This ensures whole sounders enter together, not just brave scouts who might trigger premature captures. The completed pig brig appears harmless. No machinery, no obvious threats, just posts and netting surrounding scattered corn. Yet this simplicity masks sophisticated behavioral engineering that turns the hog's own instincts into prison bars. However, even perfect construction means nothing if the trap sits in the wrong location. Many first-time users discover this painful truth when their expertly built pig brig catches nothing but empty air week after week. Even the most effective trap can fail if placed carelessly. Many first-time users of the pig brig learn this lesson the hard way. Mistake 1. Setting traps where hogs don't travel. It may seem obvious, but some landowners install the net in areas without pig sign. No tracks, no rooting, no droppings. In such places, the trap may never catch a single animal. Mistake 2. Placing traps too close to human activity. Hogs are cautious by nature. If the trap is near homes, barking dogs, or machinery noise, they will avoid it entirely. Mistake 3. Poor ground conditions. Low, swampy ground may seem convenient, but standing water spoils the bait. Once the corn ferments or molds, hogs lose interest, and the trap becomes useless. Mistake 4. Moving too quickly. Impatience is another common error. Without enough camera data, some operators rush to relocate the trap. But hogs require time to adjust. If the net is removed too soon, the conditioning process is broken. So, how do experienced trappers succeed? They look for the signs. Fresh hoof prints, muddy wallows, droppings, rub marks on trees, and trails leading to water sources all point to hog activity. Smart placement means setting the trap near these patterns, but never directly in their bedding areas. Another critical factor is wind. A trap set upwind of the herd will carry the human scent straight to them. Seasoned operators always calculate the breeze, ensuring that their presence is never betrayed. When the location is chosen wisely, the odds of success rise dramatically. Field reports show that correct placement can raise capture success rates to as high as 80% compared to traps set randomly in low traffic areas that may catch nothing at all. But catching hogs isn't just about hardware and placement. It also requires training the animals themselves. The pig brig is not a trap that works instantly. To capture an entire sounder, farmers must first build trust, a slow and deliberate process known as the conditioning phase. At the beginning, the bottom edge of the net is lifted and secured, leaving enough space for hogs to move in and out without resistance. The posts stand, but the trap itself is inactive. Over several nights, the herd becomes familiar with the structure, treating it as part of their environment rather than a threat. Meanwhile, feed is placed with care. At first, corn is scattered along the outside ring, then gradually beneath the raised net, and finally into the heart of the enclosure. Each night, the hogs push deeper inside, lured by food, but reassured by the absence of danger. Throughout this time, cameras quietly record their behavior. Farmers watch closely. Are the animals relaxed? Do they brush against the netting and return without hesitation? The true moment of readiness comes when the herd enters comfortably, even as the net brushes along their backs. Those who rush this phase almost always fail. Trigger the trap too soon, and only a handful of hogs will be caught, while the rest learn to avoid the site for good. But when patience is applied, the results are remarkable. The entire sounder, from sows to piglets, can be captured in a single night. This careful conditioning is what separates frustration from success. And behind every successful capture stands a farmer who has endured the losses, learned the patterns, and found a way to fight back. After weeks of patient conditioning, the moment of truth arrives with brutal simplicity. Tom Rodriguez checks his trail camera at 5 a.m., coffee steam rising in the Texas dawn. The footage shows what every farmer dreams of seeing. 32 hogs moving confidently through his pig brig, sows heavy with pregnancy, piglets trailing behind. The entire sounder treating the enclosure as their personal dining room. Not one animal shows alarm. The conditioning worked perfectly. "This is my dad's trap," Tom says, his words carrying the weight of inherited wisdom and personal vindication. "Nobody's paying us to say this." His honesty cuts through any doubt. This isn't marketing, it's survival. The mathematics tell the deeper story. 11 of those captured sows were pregnant. Had they remained free, within 6 months, Tom would have faced over 100 additional hogs tearing through his fields. Instead, one patient night eliminated what could have become a biological catastrophe. What strikes visitors most isn't the trap's complexity. It's Tom's quiet precision. Years of watching his crops destroyed taught him to read hog behavior. Like a farmer reads weather, the scratched fence posts, the muddy wallows, the timing of their evening raids, details that separate those who capture entire sounders from those who catch nothing at all. These victories rarely make headlines, yet in rural communities, word spreads quickly. Each successful capture represents more than numbers. It's proof that American ingenuity can match any challenge nature throws at working families. The pig brig teaches us that the most powerful solutions often come from observation, not force. Against an enemy that breeds faster than bullets can fly, American farmers discovered that patience defeats panic, intelligence conquers brute strength. This isn't just about hogs. It's about protecting the land we love through ingenuity rather than desperation. Sometimes the best technology is the simplest. A net, posts, and farmer's wisdom can outperform expensive machinery. This represents American resourcefulness at its finest, turning problems into opportunities through persistence and clever thinking. But the pig brig is only one weapon in this war. Some farmers take a more direct approach, using hunting techniques so effective they can eliminate millions of hogs. Click the video on your screen to discover these shocking hunting methods that most people never see. Subscribe and hit the bell for more agricultural innovations. $9 million, gone. In just 12 months, Texas farmers watched their life's work vanish into the darkness as an invisible enemy destroyed everything their families had built across generations. High-tech fences? Useless. Motion sensors? Ignored. Guard dogs? Overwhelmed. Every expensive solution failed until one desperate farmer tried something so ridiculous that agricultural experts called him crazy. What happened next shocked the entire industry. This laughable idea not only worked, it completely eliminated predator losses on ranch after ranch. Today, thousands of American farmers swear by this secret, but most people have never heard of it. TechMotion finally reveals the truth. What we uncovered will change everything you think you know about solving impossible problems. Here's where the nightmare begins for families like Jake's. The numbers tell a devastating story that most Americans never see. In 1988 alone, Texas Department of Agriculture calculated $9 million in livestock losses. And that was just one state. Across the country, families who had built their lives around raising cattle, sheep, and goats watched generations of work disappear into the darkness. The enemy strikes without warning. Wolves, coyotes, and foxes hunt with intelligence that adapts faster than any human countermeasure. They learn patrol patterns, exploit weaknesses, and coordinate attacks that can devastate entire herds in a single night. Jake Morrison's family ranch in Montana represents countless operations facing this relentless pressure. When you're losing calves worth $800 each, you start questioning everything you thought you knew about ranch protection, he explains, his voice carrying the weight of sleepless nights. It's not just money, it's watching your life's work get torn apart. What most people never realize about predator pressure, it never stops. Every sunset brings the same dread. Every morning reveals new losses. Farmers sleep with one ear open, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, their animals are being hunted. The psychological toll proves as devastating as the financial impact. For Jake, whose grandfather started the operation in '48, each attack felt like an assault on family legacy. You begin to wonder if you're the generation that loses everything previous generations built. But here's what separates desperate hope from practical reality. Jake and thousands like him tried everything modern technology could offer. High-voltage electric fencing that cost thousands to install, motion-activated sirens that split the night air, propane cannons that thundered across the landscape every few minutes, high-intensity floodlights that turned pastures into blazing daylight. Every single approach eventually failed. We'd invested everything in electric fencing and motion sensors, Jake remembers, running his hand along fence posts that still bear the scars of failed protection attempts. But the coyotes adapted faster than our technology. They learned to dig under, jump over, or simply wait for equipment failures. Agricultural experts dismissed most unconventional solutions outright. Guard dogs showed promise but required extensive breeding, training, and maintenance that many operations couldn't afford. Professional hunters provided temporary relief but couldn't patrol vast territories continuously. The firearms approach carried its own limitations. Ranchers couldn't maintain armed surveillance around the clock or follow mobile herds across thousands of acres. Legal restrictions and practical realities made 24/7 protection impossible. When desperate farmers started mentioning donkeys, the skepticism was universal. These weren't specialized guardian breeds developed over centuries like border collies or Great Pyrenees. They were animals most people associated with stubbornness, not security. As one agricultural extension agent put it, donkeys against wolves? You might as well try using house cats against bears. What happened next challenges everything ranchers thought they knew about livestock protection. The solution came from understanding something remarkable, hidden in donkey genetics, an instinctive, uncompromising hatred for canine predators that evolution had embedded over millions of years. While horses evolved speed for open plains and zebras developed defensive camouflage, donkeys evolved what people mistakenly call stubbornness. Actually, highly developed survival instincts that make them nearly impossible to intimidate. Here's where decades of ranching wisdom reveals something extraordinary. These seemingly harmless animals possess an innate protective intelligence that transforms them into 400-pound security systems that never sleep, never call in sick, and never miss a threat. Jake Morrison witnessed this transformation firsthand when he introduced his first guard donkey to his Montana operation. City folks see a cute donkey and think petting zoo, he explains. But put that same animal with my flock and it becomes something completely different. The science behind their effectiveness is extraordinary. When predators approach, donkeys interpret any canine presence as an immediate threat to their herd, triggering an explosive defensive response that combines multiple devastating capabilities. A deafening shriek that carries for miles, alerting farmers instantly. Relentless pursuit across rough terrain at surprising speeds, devastating kicks, with front hooves, delivering bone-breaking force, superior intelligence that accurately assesses threat levels. What separates guard donkeys from conventional protection methods? They don't just react to threats. They prevent them through psychological warfare that predators understand instinctively. The early implementation wasn't without its challenges. Some donkeys took their responsibilities with dangerous seriousness, requiring careful management to prevent over-aggressive responses to harmless situations. Others needed months of specialized conditioning that resembled military preparation. Jake discovered that success demanded significant investment beyond simply purchasing an animal. People think you just turn a donkey loose and hope for the best, he learned through trial and error. But we're talking about specialized training programs that cost real money and take months to complete. The learning curve proved steep. Professional breeders had to develop animals with enhanced protective instincts through selective genetics. Size mattered critically. Medium to large donkeys possess the physical presence necessary to intimidate genuine threats. Gender selection proved crucial, with females demonstrating superior protective judgment. Everything depended on specific breeding characteristics. Superior guard donkeys cost roughly $800 compared to ordinary animals at $500. But even that investment could fail if ranchers didn't understand the complex training requirements. Some early adopters discovered their new guardians could be too effective, creating problems when properly socialized donkeys became territorial about areas they shouldn't protect. By 1989, just 1 year after the crisis peaked, something extraordinary had happened across Texas ranches. 1,800 donkeys now stood guard over livestock operations that had been hemorrhaging money just months before. The transformation wasn't gradual. It was dramatic and immediate. Ranchers who had been losing animals weekly suddenly reported 0 losses. Operations that had considered bankruptcy were calculating profits again. Here's where 30 years of ranching experience becomes crucial. Jake describes the moment he knew the solution worked. When we introduced our first guard donkey, the predator pressure just stopped. Not reduced, not managed, stopped completely. The tactical advantage became undeniable. Predators bring teeth and claws. Insufficient tools against a 400-pound opponent with superior intelligence and territorial advantage. Individual predators simply cannot compete, and even pack hunters quickly learn that donkey-protected herds aren't worth the risk. But the real breakthrough came when ranchers realized they weren't just getting protection. They were witnessing intelligence that rivaled the most sophisticated guard dog breeds. Each donkey could effectively guard up to 200 sheep or goats on clearly visible terrain. With proper training, some could protect even larger territories. The better trained the donkey, the more territory it could patrol efficiently. The numbers spoke for themselves. Operations that had lost hundreds of animals annually were reporting single-digit losses or none at all. The $9 million crisis was becoming a distant memory. If you found this video interesting, drop a 1 in the comments or a 0 if you thought it was boring. What ranchers discovered about their new guardians came in layers, each more surprising than the last. First revelation. Modern scientific research validated what ranchers were witnessing. A 2013 study by the Donkey Sanctuary proved that donkeys learn and solve complex problems as efficiently as dolphins or dogs. Dr. Nora Matthews at Texas A&M University, after 15 years studying donkey cognition, stated definitively that donkeys demonstrate superior intelligence compared to horses. Second revelation. Their protective capabilities went far beyond simple aggression. Donkeys could accurately assess threat levels and often scared predators away with intimidation alone, avoiding unnecessary physical confrontation. They developed sophisticated patrol patterns and demonstrated remarkable memory for potential danger zones. Third revelation. Their intelligence created both advantages and challenges. With superior memory and rapid learning capabilities, donkeys could master complex protection protocols. But they could also devise sophisticated escape plans if they chose independence over duty. The most shocking discovery. Despite 5,000 years of domestication, donkeys retained crucial survival wisdom that made them nearly impossible to manipulate into dangerous situations. What people called stubbornness was actually highly developed self-preservation instincts that served them perfectly as guardians. Historical validation proved their courage wasn't accidental. During World War I, one donkey earned the Purple Cross for battlefield courage, helping rescue wounded soldiers and saving over 300 lives. This courage was embedded in their genetic inheritance. The economic revelation that changed everything. With lifespans extending up to 60 years, properly maintained donkeys offered decades of protection for the cost of a single year's predator losses. Annual maintenance costs only $150 or $200 for basic feed, hoof trimming, and routine care. Jake Morrison reflects on the transformation. After watching 25 years of successful ranching nearly collapse, these donkeys didn't just save our operation, they taught us to see intelligence where we never expected to find it. What began as a desperate crisis became a profound lesson. Sometimes the most ancient solutions prove superior to modern technology. The donkey revolution taught American ranchers that true wisdom combines traditional knowledge with genuine respect for nature's intelligence. Jake Morrison's transformation from near bankruptcy to thriving operation proves that when we listen to what animals have been trying to teach us for thousands of years, remarkable partnerships become possible. The next time you encounter livestock products, remember the four-legged guardians standing watch. Proof that innovation often means rediscovering wisdom we'd forgotten. But nature's surprises don't always end so positively. While donkeys saved American ranches, sometimes human intervention in animal populations creates consequences no one expects. Scientists thought they had the perfect solution when they eradicated every single mouse from a remote island. But what happened 1 year later shocked everyone and changed our understanding of ecological balance forever. Click the video on your screen to discover this incredible story. I'll wait for you there.
You might have seen crocodile leather on Hermes bags or Gucci belts, but do you know what lies beneath that polished skin? It's not just an animal, it's an entire underground industry powered by temperature control, enzymes, cold chain logistics, and morally complex decisions. Crocodiles, creatures that terrified humans for millions of years, are now being farmed industrially. They live in high-tech enclosures, eat custom feed, and are tracked at every stage of growth with thermal sensors. Why? Because a single pristine crocodile hide can sell for up to $10,000, and each well-raised croc becomes a living money-printing machine. Today's story takes you deep into a world few ever witness, from eggs incubated to determine gender, to slaughter methods designed to eliminate suffering from centuries-old Arabic tanning techniques, to luxury dishes served in elite Asian restaurants. You'll see that crocodiles are no longer just swamp predators, they've become icons of transformation, from wild instinct to the pinnacle of luxury. Don't look away, because what follows will reveal how humans aren't hunting crocodiles into extinction, but taming them with science, strategy, and an unrelenting hunger for profit. Imagine standing at the edge of a still tropical lagoon. Suddenly, a pair of eyes surfaces. No sound, no ripple, just a single moment of carelessness, and the prey is gone forever. That's the saltwater crocodile, Crocodilus porosus, an ancient killer that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs. But today, instead of lurking in murky swamps, it lies inside monitored enclosures, tagged with growth-tracking microchips, and fed imported frozen chicken. Why would humans do this? Because a single flawless crocodile hide, if it meets luxury standards, can be worth between $3,000 and $10,000. These skins become six-figure Birkin bags, custom shoes for the ultra-wealthy, and even watch straps worth more than a car. But the value doesn't stop at the skin. Crocodile meat, high in protein and low in fat, is a delicacy in upscale restaurants across Thailand, China, and Singapore. The bones, blood, and liver are used in supplements, cosmetics, and modern Eastern medicine. It's no exaggeration. A properly farmed crocodile is a mobile treasure chest. But to unlock that wealth, we have to start from the very beginning, with the eggs. When the faint chirp-chirp sound comes from inside the egg, it's the moment the technicians have been waiting for. 80 days in the making, Each hatchling, barely 30 centimeters long and light as a plastic bottle, is carefully moved from the incubator to the nursery, the daycare for future killers. Here, every detail is controlled: temperature, lighting, water flow, even ambient sound. They're raised in small groups to prevent fights and fed a daily diet of minced chicken, small fish, and specialized nutrient pellets. After about 6 months, once their bodies become leaner, their skin thickens, and they stretch close to a meter in length, these teen crocs are transferred to the most critical phase, the fattening farm. But don't be fooled. It's not about stuffing them non-stop. In this phase, crocodiles eat only 2 to 3 times a week. Their food is high in protein but strictly measured, no more than 10% of their body weight per day. The reason is simple: overfeeding leads to fat buildup, which damages the skin, and one flawed hide could cost thousands of dollars. Another crucial detail: even captive-born crocodiles retain wild instincts. Cramped conditions can lead to fights, and silence can trigger stress. So crocodile farming isn't just about feeding. It's a delicate balance of keeping them growing fast without losing their minds. And after 2 to 3 years of precise care, when their bodies are full-grown, strong, and their scale patterns perfectly formed, the journey ends. The crocodile is now ready for the final stage, slaughter, where years of effort are turned into pure value. After more than 2 years of strict controlled care, each crocodile has now reached prime condition, over 2 meters long, weighing more than 200 kilos, with flawless skin, smooth scales, and no imperfections. But turning that potential into actual value requires one final step: slaughter. It may sound brutal, but in the industrial crocodile world, slaughter is a form of craftsmanship where speed, precision, and ethics must coexist. It all begins with silence. No flashing lights, no sudden noises, no shouting. Just the crocodile, resting in a soundproof pen under soft lighting, because if it panics and thrashes, one violent tail whip could tear the back or rip scales and instantly destroy the value of the hide. To prevent that, the animal is briefly anesthetized, sometimes with a mild electric current, a blow to the head, or a brain needle, depending on the farm and technique. The goal is singular: unconsciousness without pain or reaction. Once calm, a technician steps in, working swiftly, muzzle secured, limbs restrained, then a precise cut to the carotid artery. Blood drains quickly. The crocodile dies in under a minute, without struggle, without sound, without pain. At major farms in Thailand or South Africa, slaughter takes place inside sterile rooms, cleaner than food labs. There's no smell of blood, only the scent of total control. Because here, every hide isn't just raw material. It's the end result of 2 years of care, of exacting technique, and a production philosophy built on one rule: never let fear ruin value. Once the crocodile has been successfully slaughtered, nearly all of its value, quite literally, rests in its hide. And from this point on, every single move will determine one thing: will this become a $1,000 fashion product or a ruined piece of leather? Discarded from the start, skinning a crocodile is unlike any other animal. There's no dorsal slice, no horizontal cut. Instead, it's done from the belly up, a method known as the belly cut. Why? Because the belly holds the smoothest, softest, most symmetrical scales. The part used to craft luxury handbags, wallets, and high-end watch straps. One misplaced incision, and the entire hide drops in grade. Once removed, the skin is gently washed with low-pressure cold water, then sent through a meticulous cleaning phase, removing every trace of fat, muscle, and residual tissue. Even a tiny bit of leftover fat can cause mold, discoloration, or rot during the tanning process. Depending on transport conditions, the skin is either salted for 24 hours or deep frozen at temp for preservation. Before leaving the farm, each hide is graded. Inspectors check for scratches, measure the scale pattern, test thickness, and sort the hides into categories, from commercial grade to fashion grade. And at the top, the rarest tier, premium grade, completely flawless. And from here, the journey is far from over. Because to become a symbol of true luxury, that hide must undergo its next transformation, the ancient, intricate process known as tanning. A crocodile hide, freshly skinned and prepped, looks nothing like luxury. It resembles a piece of dried meat, wrinkled, rough, and dull. No shine, no softness, no scent of sophistication, just raw, unshaped material. But in the hands of master tanners, it transforms. And that transformation begins in a place few outsiders ever see. First, the hide is soaked in vats filled with natural enzymes and mineral salts, a process that lasts for hours, softening every fiber and removing all residual fat and dead cells. Every microscopic detail matters. Even a tiny rough patch can ruin the final value. Once fully cleaned, the hide enters the tanning phase, the step that determines durability and flexibility. Some opt for vegetable tanning, which preserves natural tones and that earthy scent of heritage. Others choose chrome tanning, prized for flexibility and water resistance. Each method holds its own secrets, many passed down through generations. Then comes dyeing, the moment the hide takes on its identity. Some go jet black, sleek and timeless. Others shimmer in antique bronze. Some are dyed in ombre fades from root to edge, like a living canvas. What was once a swamp creature's skin is now destined to become a $30,000 handbag. No longer just animal remains. This is now a symbol of luxury, craftsmanship, and human vision. Once the hide is packed and sent for tanning, the rest of the crocodile still holds immense value. In today's modern farms, nothing goes to waste. First comes the meat. The most prized cut is the tail, where the muscles work hardest, producing firm, low-fat flesh with a mild sweetness and a texture reminiscent of chicken. In Thailand, Singapore, and China, crocodile meat isn't just a delicacy. It's a symbol of novelty and nutrition. After slaughter, the meat is carefully segmented, thoroughly cleaned, vacuum sealed, and flash frozen at 35 Tuisan to lock in freshness. Processing standards often match those of premium beef, qualifying it for export to markets like Japan, South Korea, and the European Union. Next come the bones, blood, and organs. Crocodile bones are ground into fine powder for collagen supplements, bone health formulas, or even high-end pet food. The blood, rich in protein, is used in medicinal tonics and traditional Eastern remedies. The liver, gallbladder, and fat all find buyers used in cosmetics, oils, and liver supplements. When you look closely, one thing becomes clear. A crocodile is no longer just a wild animal. It's a high-value biological resource, harvested with precision, processed with purpose, and utilized almost entirely. The crocodile was once a symbol of the wild, of danger, of a primordial world where strength was the only law. But the most astonishing thing about this animal isn't its jaws or its armored skin. It's how humans have learned to live with it and harvest its value intelligently. Just a few decades ago, crocodiles were hunted to the brink of extinction. People killed them for their hides, mounted their heads as trophies, or simply out of fear. From hatchery sensors to high-fashion runways, the journey of the crocodile reveals a world of precision, ethics, and innovation few ever see. This isn't just about leather. It's about how tradition and technology evolve together in today's agriculture. If this story sparked your curiosity or taught you something new, consider this. A like, a share, or a subscribe isn't just feedback. It's encouragement. It quietly tells us, keep going, tell more. So if you'd like to see more stories crafted with care and curiosity, don't hesitate to gift us that small gesture. It truly fuels the next video.
Hello everyone. As you may have noticed, bison meat is becoming one of the most sought-after foods in America. Once a symbol of the untamed wilderness, it's now a premium item served in upscale restaurants and health-conscious kitchens alike. But here's something many people don't realize. Today, North American meat plants process 260 to 300 bison every week, a staggering number compared to just 3 per week back in the 1990s. So, how did we go from near extinction to industrial-scale production? In this video, we'll explore that transformation, tracing the journey of the American bison from open prairie to processing floor. We'll uncover how a species once known for roaming wild is now raised, tracked, and harvested with surprising precision. And along the way, we'll ask, when meat is branded as wild, what does that really mean? Before fences crisscrossed the plains, before settlers pushed west, the bison ruled North America. Tens of millions once thundered across open grasslands, a vital force in the lives of indigenous nations and the balance of the continent's ecosystems. Their sheer presence shaped the land. But by the late 1800s, this ancient beast was nearly gone. Relentless hunting, railroads, and westward expansion pushed them to the brink of extinction, from 50 million to just a few hundred. And yet today, remarkably, bison are back. Not in the wild, but on farms. Why? Because modern demand has rebranded the symbol of the frontier as something new, a cleaner, leaner alternative to beef. It's wild meat, marketed as heritage-rich, nutrient-dense, and environmentally sustainable. Across the US and Canada, thousands of ranchers now raise bison, not to restore the past, but to feed a growing market. In 2024 alone, Americans consumed over 12 million pounds of bison meat. From jerky in gas stations to fillets in high-end restaurants, this animal has become a premium product. But here's the twist. Bison were never meant to be farmed. They're not cattle. They don't herd easily. They don't tolerate confinement, which begs the question, how do you farm something that was born to be wild? Let's take a closer look, starting from the very beginning of a bison's life. There's no lullaby on the prairie, no warm barn, no human hand to ease the pain, just wind, dust, and instinct. That's how a bison calf enters the world. Not gently, but alert. Born into vast open land, it must stand within minutes, walk within the hour, and in just a few short weeks, it must learn to outrun death. Because in nature, hesitation costs lives. Its mother, seasoned by survival, nudges it to move. Herds migrate constantly, and calves must keep up or be left behind. Still wobbling, still wet from birth, the calf follows. Its legs unsure, but its will undeniable. Each day it grows stronger. It nurses in the early morning fog. It grazes beside the herd as the sun climbs. It learns the scent of predators on the wind. It learns how to vanish into the grass. There is no classroom, only instinct and repetition, passed down not through language, but through movement. By 3 months, it's agile and lean. By 6, it blends into the massive muscle that is the herd. And yet, even in this raw beauty, the future is uncertain. In the wild, predators cull the weak. On the ranch, steel fences and microchips await. Because not every calf gets to grow old. Some are tagged early, some are pulled for treatment. Some simply vanish from the herd's rhythm. This is life as a bison calf, breathtakingly free and quietly watched. A creature born wild and slowly steered toward a system it never chose. Next, we'll see what happens when that freedom meets the cold precision of the modern livestock industry. By now, our young bison has survived the hardest part, birth and early life on the open plains. But as it grows, so does the presence of humans. What once was pure wilderness slowly becomes regulated range. Modern bison farming is a dance between freedom and control. Yes, they still graze in open pastures, but behind those pastures lie systems, schedules, and silent technology. Every animal wears an electronic tag. Each movement is tracked. Each pound of feed logged. Every illness recorded, treated, and filed. This is no longer just a field. It's a data-driven operation. Feeding is often handled by automated machines that mix hay, grains, and minerals into carefully calibrated rations. Some ranches even monitor each animal's intake and weight with precision sensors, ensuring just enough nutrition for growth, but never too much to spoil the meat's lean quality. Veterinarians visit on schedule. Drones may fly overhead to check herd behavior, and when it's time to move, for medical checks, weight assessments, or breeding decisions, hydraulic gates and sorting chutes guide the animals into place. It's efficient, it's effective, and yet something about it feels strangely out of sync with the animal itself. The bison is still wild at heart, but now lives in a world of spreadsheets, steel, and satellite data. Is this freedom or well-managed captivity? Let's take a closer look at what happens when these 1,000-pound animals meet the machines designed to manage their muscle. If you found this content meaningful or eye-opening, comment 1 below. If it feels dull or uninspired, type 0. Your feedback helps shape the next story we tell. They were born to run, not to stop. But sooner or later, every farmed bison faces the chute. It starts quietly. A gentle nudge here, a narrowing alley there. The animal walks forward unaware until it can't turn back. Then comes the sound of steel locking into place. This isn't a slaughter line, not yet. It's a checkpoint, a pause in the journey where biology meets bureaucracy. The device is called a squeeze chute, a towering steel frame that holds the bison still while ranchers perform essential procedures. Vaccinations, health checks, electronic tagging. There are no tranquilizers, no soothing voices. Just hydraulics, muscle, and instinct colliding in a tight, breathless space. For some, it lasts seconds. For others, an eternity. The chute applies firm pressure along the animal's body, mimicking the calming squeeze of a predator-free shelter. That's the theory. But bison don't calm easily. You can see it in their eyes, mound, wild, and scanning. Hear it in the slam of hooves. Feel it in the way 1,000 pounds of heritage trembles inside a steel cage. Some stand frozen, shocked by confinement. Others thrash, foam, and lunge, even as the gate holds firm. There's no room for error here. One wrong movement, one misplaced bolt, and someone could be hurt. Maybe worse. This is the price of management. The quiet compromise between safety and sovereignty. And when a bison grows too large, too aggressive, or simply reaches market weight, there's no second stop, no turnoff, only one final corridor. In the next chapter, we follow that path from living muscle to meat. There's a certain stillness to the morning. As the sun rises over the prairie, the familiar sound of trailers backing into the yard signals a day unlike the rest, one that every rancher knows well, yet never takes lightly. It's slaughter day. The bison, now fully grown and heavy with strength, are moved gently into transport. Handlers work quietly, avoiding stress. The goal is calm, always calm. At the processing facility, everything is designed with care. Curved walkways, soft lighting, and quiet movement to keep the animals from distress. This is not the chaos of industrial meat production. This is a controlled, regulated environment guided by both science and responsibility. And then the moment comes. The animal is rendered unconscious swiftly and without pain, using approved humane methods. There's no panic, no struggle, just a quiet transition, as seamless as modern protocols allow. What follows is a series of practice steps. The bison is prepared, cleaned, and respectfully processed into cuts of meat that will nourish families' stock shelves and appear on elegant dinner plates across the country. From ribeye to ground bison, each portion is inspected for quality, handled with care, and preserved with precision. To some, this might feel clinical. To others, it may seem deeply respectful, a way of ensuring that nothing is wasted and that the animal's life is honored through the purpose it serves. But for many watching from the outside, a quiet question remains. Is there such a thing as ethical meat, or only ethical intention? In our next chapter, we'll follow this journey one step further, from facility to fork, and explore what it means when the story of the prairien ends at the table. After the noise fades and the work is done, what remains is something surprisingly quiet. Carefully cut sections of meat, each one a reflection of strength, time, and heritage. This is where the story takes on a new form. In cold rooms lined with stainless steel, skilled workers sort and trim each part of the bison with precision. The ribeye, the tenderloin, the flank. Every cut has a purpose, and every purpose has a story. The meat is vacuum sealed, labeled, and boxed. Some will head to fine dining restaurants in New York or San Francisco, plated beside wild mushrooms and heirloom carrots. Others will be sold in local co-ops or health stores, where labels read grass-fed, free-range, 100% North American bison. And in homes across the country, someone opens a package, seasons a steak, and sets it on a hot skillet. They may know it's leaner than beef. They may appreciate its high protein and iron. But few will ever know the journey that brought it here, from the calf's first step on prairie grass, to the machines that monitored its weight, to the chute, and beyond. Every slice holds a story, every steak a sacrifice. And as demand for bison meat grows, so too does the distance between the wild and the plate. Which raises a quiet question. Is the demand changing the animal? Or changing us? In the next chapter, we'll explore that tension and what it means when nature becomes a commodity. Would you pay more for bison just because it's labeled wild? Do you believe the word wild makes it more valuable? Or is it just clever marketing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. There was a time when wild meat meant survival. Now it means status. Bison, once hunted for warmth and nourishment, is now praised on health blogs and plated in fine restaurants. Lean, natural, primal. It fits the story many of us want to believe. That we can eat in harmony with the land. That clean food connects us back to something real. But beneath that promise lies a quiet reality. As demand rises, so does the price. A bison steak, once reserved for frontiersmen, now commands boutique prices. And with it, pressure on producers to scale, accelerate, industrialize. Wild is still on the label, but the process has become anything but. Farms grow larger, pastures more managed, animals more measured, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the wildness we crave becomes curated, packaged, and sold. It leaves us with a difficult question. When nature becomes a commodity, what part of it disappears? Perhaps it's not the flavor, or even the freedom. Perhaps what fades is the feeling, that quiet knowing that what we took from the land was once given freely, that we weren't just eating better, we were belonging to something older than ourselves. The bison has always carried weight, not just in muscle and horn, but in meaning. It once moved like a pulse across the continent, a living thread that stitched together land, people, and purpose. For centuries, it was legacy. But legacies don't always survive modern math. Today, the bison still carries, but it's different now. It carries barcodes, ear tags, market expectations. Each hoofstep measured not in stories, but in pounds and price. And yet, listen closely, not all is lost. There are still ranchers who look beyond the bottom line, who raise bison not just to sell, but to remember, to preserve something older than industry, quieter than profit. So we ask not with judgment, but with honesty. Are we honoring a legacy or managing an asset? The answer may lie in the space between the two, where tradition meets choice and wildness waits to be invited back in. Maybe the wild isn't gone. Maybe it's just waiting to be respected again. The bison's story is not just about meat. It's about memory, about the balance between reverence and demand, survival and sacrifice. We've followed them from grasslands to cutting floors, from ancient instinct to modern machinery. But in the end, what remains isn't just a question of how we raise them. It's how we remember them. If you believe the story of the bison deserves to be heard, shared, and understood, subscribe and leave a comment below. Let your voice be part of something lasting. What does it take to turn a 20-foot live python into a $5,000 luxury handbag? Inside this factory, one wrong cut can cost thousands of dollars. And one careless move could cost you a hand. We're about to step inside the world's largest python processing facility, where danger, elegance, and controversy intertwine. But the real shock? This industry is booming. How did it rise so fast? And who's truly paying the price? In the next few minutes, you'll witness scenes most fashion lovers never imagined. You'll see hundreds of pythons processed in a single night. You'll uncover how their skins are transformed into what the industry calls soft gold, coveted by Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and the world's top designers. And you'll follow the farmers who breed, trap, and transform these creatures with chilling precision. But there's more. Southeast Asia's largest python farm generates over $20 million a year from an animal most people fear. This isn't just about fashion. It's about economics, survival, and centuries-old craftsmanship facing modern scrutiny. Why are wild-caught snakes worth 3 times more than farm-raised ones? How do workers skin over 100 pythons per shift with surgical precision? And is it ethical or exploitative? Stay with us, because in a few moments, we'll reveal why python skin could end up in your closet and the invisible hands behind its journey. Deep within the steamy mangrove forests and rice paddies of Southeast Asia, a different kind of farmer works the land. But he's not feeding snakes, he's chasing them. These are the python hunters, men guided by ancient knowledge, sharp instincts, and the hope of a big payday. Wild-caught pythons, especially rare albinos with golden skin, can be worth 3 times more than their farm-raised cousins. To catch them, hunters don't rely on machines or modern tech. They read the land. Flattened grass, shed skins, and disturbed mud mark the trail. Once a snake's path is identified, they set their traps, baited with a live chicken inside a bamboo box scented to draw the predator in. Then comes the wait, sometimes for hours, sometimes all night. The traps themselves are deceptively simple. A wire mesh cage dug into the earth, no electronics, no moving parts. The entrance, cut from an old plastic barrel, features sun ray-like slits. The snake can slither in, but never back out. In open fields, they use a different method. The pitfall trap. A thin wooden lid, covered in dirt and netting, hides a deep pit below. When the python steps on it, the ground gives way, dropping the massive reptile into a dark, silent chamber. It's low-tech, resettable, and incredibly effective. But the real danger isn't the trap. It's getting the snake out, alive, uninjured, and ready for market. One clean catch can pay for months of food. But one mistake, it could cost everything. In a remote corner of Southeast Asia, rows of steel mesh cages shimmer under the morning sun. Inside them, dozens of tiny coiled creatures, no larger than a garden hose. But give them time and they'll grow into 20-foot apex predators, worth thousands of dollars each. Python breeding begins not in the wild, but in climate-controlled chambers. Farmers carefully bathe the breeding females in warm water to stimulate egg production. Once laid, the eggs are placed into incubation rooms where every degree is monitored. Too hot, and the embryos die. Too cold, and they never hatch. After 70-80 days, the hatchlings emerge, guided by instinct. From day one, they're fed a high-protein diet of poultry scraps and small rodents. Their stainless steel pens are cleaned daily. It takes 2 to 3 years for a python to reach harvest size. By then, one snake can be worth more than 11,000 if its skin is flawless. But that's just the beginning, because once they've reached full size, the farm hands them off to the factory. And what happens next? Let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. What happens when a snake's time is up? The knives come out, and precision becomes the difference between profit and total loss. If you raised a creature for years, fed it, watched it grow, could you still send it off to be skinned for fashion? Let us know your answer in the comments below. They say the sharpest tool on this farm isn't the blade, it's the timing. Each night, just after sundown, the real work begins. Under the glow of dim factory lights, over 2,000 pythons are laid out one by one. No loud machines, no conveyor belts, just bare hands and thin curved knives, sliding along the spine of a 20-foot snake with surgical grace. The process begins by removing the head, cleanly and quickly. Then comes the critical part, peeling the skin in a single continuous motion. One wrong cut in the entire hide, worth hundreds of dollars, is ruined. Unlike cows or pigs, python skin isn't thick. It's delicate, stretchy, patterned like nature's fingerprint. Each worker is trained for months to develop the muscle memory required to split the flesh from the hide without tearing a scale. Once the skin is removed, it's rinsed with herbal-infused water to cleanse and soften the material for tanning. Meanwhile, the remaining python meat is carefully trimmed, portioned, and frozen within hours, preserving freshness for shipment to restaurants and exotic meat markets. But here's the most remarkable thing. This entire process, from live animal to luxury material, takes just under 15 minutes per snake. And when done right, it creates a product so flawless that top designers will pay a premium to turn it into handbags, belts, and boots. Coming up next, you'll see how this raw hide is transformed into high-end fashion, step by step, by hand. What do you think about this process? If you found this video fascinating, comment 1 below. If you're uncomfortable with it, comment 0. We want to hear your honest thoughts. Once the meat is harvested, the real treasure remains, the skin. But don't be fooled. Turning raw python skin into something worthy of Gucci or Louis Vuitton isn't simple. It's an art, and one mistake can ruin thousands of dollars of product. First, the skin is gently scraped by hand, removing every trace of fat and flesh. Why not use a machine? Because only the human touch can avoid tears that would make the leather unusable. Next, it's soaked in herbal dyes, a centuries-old technique using plant-based ingredients like mahogany bark and indigo leaf. These natural dyes not only add color, but preserve the texture and flexibility of the skin. Then comes drying. Some are sun-dried to enhance the grain. Others go into climate-controlled chambers for maximum softness. What emerges is stunning, glossy, flexible leather, each scale like a tiny fingerprint. No two pieces are the same. Only then is the skin sent to luxury workshops, where it's cut and stitched into $5,000 handbags or $2,000 boots. Now here's the question. Would you believe that skin once belonged to a jungle predator? Drop your thoughts below. I'm curious how this makes you feel about what's in your closet. After being expertly butchered, the python is divided into thick, boneless slabs of lean meat. What might look intimidating at first glance is actually pure white flesh, clean, dense, and surprisingly tender. First, the chunks are quickly blanched in boiling water, removing impurities while sealing in moisture. Then they hit the wok, sizzling in garlic oil, herbs, and a splash of citrus to cut through the richness. But that's just the beginning. The real magic happens over open charcoal, where skewered python meat is grilled until lightly charred and golden. The outside crisps up beautifully, while the inside stays juicy. The aroma? A cross between grilled chicken and smoked fish, intense, earthy, and mouth-watering. And finally, everything comes together in the pan. Flame-grilled python, sautéed with cherry tomatoes, onions, chilies, and a dash of soy. What hits the plate is more than just food. It's a rare delicacy with texture, nutrition, and bold character. Rich in protein, low in fat, and packed with collagen, python meat is winning fans across Asia and even in high-end restaurants worldwide. Would you try this exotic dish just once in your life? Leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think about this exotic dish. On one hand, python farms are a lifeline. For many families in Southeast Asia, this trade means survival, housing, food, and education for their kids. One large farm can bring in over $20 million a year, creating jobs in rural areas where few options exist. But on the other hand, not everyone is cheering. Animal rights groups argue the process is inhumane. Pythons are often kept in tight enclosures, fed artificially, and harvested for their skin long before they reach natural maturity. Some call it leather farming with no mercy. Even the fashion giants are divided. While brands like Louis Vuitton continue to use exotic skins, others like Stella McCartney have banned them entirely, opting for lab-grown or plant-based alternatives. So who's right? Are python farms an efficient use of natural resources, or just another brutal industry hiding behind luxury labels? And here's a question worth asking. Would you wear a $5,000 python bag if you knew exactly how it was made? Comment yes if you think it's justified, or no if you'd never touch it. And so the python's journey from jungle hatchling to luxury product comes full circle. For years, farmers cared for these creatures with precision, regulating temperature, feeding them just right, and waiting patiently for the perfect moment. All in pursuit of one thing: flawless skin and tender meat, crafted into products that sell for thousands. To some, it's just another business. To others, it raises uncomfortable questions about ethics, nature, and need. Now that you've seen behind the scenes, you may ask yourself, does luxury justify the process behind it? Leave a comment below. I'd truly like to hear your thoughts. And if this glimpse into the exotic animal trade intrigued you, tap the link right here or in the description to watch how millions of snakes are processed inside a 1.2B luxury animal farming industry. You've only scratched the surface. What happens inside the largest factories will surprise you even more. Deep in the heart of Java's remote villages, death gets skinned alive and sold for thousands of dollars. But first, let me tell you something that might surprise you. The global snake industry is worth over $1.2 billion annually. From ancient medicine to luxury fashion, these creatures that most people fear have quietly become one of the world's most valuable and controversial commodities. While the rest of the world sees snakes as harbingers of death and danger, in a small village nestled deep within Java's forests in Indonesia, these serpents are the very foundation of life itself, feeding families, powering local economies, and sustaining entire communities through generations. Here's what makes this story truly remarkable. These people don't run from snakes. They catch them with bare hands, kill them in cold water baths, and skin them with the precision of master tailors. Every part of the snake, from meat to skin, bile to venom, has value. Some skins, when they reach European markets, can sell for up to $4,000. You're about to enter a world where survival and death are separated by a single heartbeat. A world where every bite could be fatal, but every snake represents a chance to change your life forever. And what stunned us most wasn't how they killed these creatures. It was how they've transformed fear itself into a living heritage passed down through generations. But before we dive into this hidden world, let's explore the mysterious history that brought us here. In the red dirt regions of West Java, where winding paths snake between coconut groves and rice paddies, there exist villages unlike anywhere else on Earth. Here, people don't farm crops to survive. They don't raise livestock or fish the seas. They live by snakes, not toy snakes, not snake oil in supermarket jars. Real snakes, living snakes, venomous snakes, and pythons longer than a grown man's body. This is where our story takes an unexpected turn. Snake skinning here isn't just a trade, it's an art form. Gutting snakes is routine. Drying entire carcasses for medicine is a skill passed from father to son. Children grow up beside snake skins drying on fences, feeling no fear, only curiosity. Because for them, snakes aren't nightmares, they're livelihoods. Unlike the Western world, where serpents are synonymous with evil and death, the people here view snakes through a purely practical lens. Every snake is an opportunity. A single snake skin can feed a family for a week. A large python can help them pay their children's school fees. There are no steel mills here, no dairy farms. What they have is the skill to hunt, kill, and process Asia's most dangerous creatures, while the rest of the world sees snakes as something to avoid. For these Indonesian villagers, snakes are something to embrace every single day. Early morning, when dew still clings to banana leaves and snakes are slithering back to their nests after a night of hunting, the men set out. They don't carry guns. What they bring is a dull knife, a mesh bag, and absolute composure. In West Java, snake hunting isn't for the faint of heart. This isn't sport hunting. This is survival. Every snake caught, whether a small water snake or a 4-meter python, has value. And when your food money, rice money, and medicine money depend on one precise grab, death becomes less frightening than hunger. Professional snake hunters typically work in groups. They stretch nets through bamboo forests, set traps along rice field borders, and place baited hooks near stagnant pools. They know exactly where snakes travel, under fallen logs, through wild pineapple bushes, along damp creek beds. Comment 1. If you find this video fascinating, comment 0 if you find it boring. Many snakes are caught while coiled around tree trunks. Some are pulled from burrows, mouths still hissing, and sometimes being just 1 second too slow is enough to ensure the hunter never returns home. But it's precisely in this danger that snake hunting becomes an art form, where courage, experience, and yes, luck are measured in cold, hard cash. At the snake processing center in Java, the pungent smell of blood mingles with kiln smoke and the acrid odor of damp skin. Large metal drums filled with water mark the beginning of a cold processing chain that would make outsiders shudder. Snakes are dropped into these water drums while still alive. The reason? Local people believe that letting snakes die slowly in cold water causes less suffering, and more importantly, preserves the best skin quality. No tears, no bruising. But at about 20 minutes, when their bodies stop moving, the butchering begins. On worn wooden boards, each snake is laid out. The worker, with a knife just long enough, cuts along the belly, precise to every vertebra. The skin is peeled away in intact sections, pulled from head to tail, an operation that only those who've done it thousands of times can perform so smoothly. Meat and organs are sorted immediately. Snake bile, the most precious part, is collected in glass bottles, numbered, and sent straight to traditional medicine quarters. No modern machinery, no automated conveyor belts, everything by hand, by habit, by survival instinct. But here's where it gets controversial. In this very precision, many Western observers question whether this is traditional craft or commercialized torture disguised as trade. After skinning, the still damp snake skins are hung on drying racks under the tropical sun. Others are taken to saltwater baths, then scrubbed clean by hand. Each scale is meticulously processed to prevent flaking or discoloration, because just one small flaw could cost hundreds of dollars. Skins that meet standards are then laid flat, rolled up, labeled, ready for the journey to leather workshops in Jakarta, Bangkok, and from there to Europe. When they reach Milan or Paris, they're no longer rough, blood-scented hides. They're dyed, polished, embossed, and transformed into handbags, high heels, wallets, belts, bearing the names of major fashion brands like Gucci, Hermes, and Prada. A snakeskin, when it's still drying on a village fence, is worth only a few dozen dollars. But when it's displayed behind glass in a luxury store on the Champs-Élysées, its price can reach 4,000 USD. This creates a fascinating paradox. From a reptile feared and killed in water drums, the snake is reborn a second time on the shoulders of high society. A quiet but familiar contradiction. What's despised in one place is admired in another. While snakeskin travels to Europe to enter the world of luxury fashion, the remaining meat returns to exactly where it was born. Village markets, small eateries, family kitchen fires. In many rural areas of Indonesia, snake meat isn't an exotic delicacy, it's daily bread. For people here, snakes are considered high-protein, low-fat food that's no less nutritious than chicken or fish. And more importantly, easy to find, cheap, and available year-round. Experienced housewives skillfully clean snake meat, cut it into small pieces, marinate it with garlic, ginger, lemongrass, then grill it over charcoal or stew it with lime leaves and hot peppers. This dish has a unique aroma, rich flavor, with meat that's chewy like free-range chicken but with finer, sweeter fibers. Some places also make dried snake meat like beef jerky for long-term storage or as snacks. Additionally, snake bile extracted separately during butchering is often soaked in alcohol and drunk as a tonic. Especially among village men who believe drinking snake bile enhances vitality, fights fatigue, and increases endurance for labor. In the West, snakes never appear on dinner tables. But in Indonesia, they're what literally raise entire poor generations. Not all snakes are immediately skinned, processed, and eaten. Some, especially smaller snakes or those not completely intact, are kept whole, coiled into circles, and placed in drying ovens. After 24 hours in the heat, these snake carcasses harden like wood, maintaining their spiral shape. They're no longer food. They've become precious ingredients in traditional medicine, especially in Chinese medicine, Vietnamese medicine, and native Indonesian healing practices. In Eastern medical philosophy, Dried snakes dispel wind, reduce pain, and open blood vessels. They're ground into powder, boiled for extract, or soaked in alcohol to treat conditions like joint pain, mild paralysis, numbness in hands and feet, and weakness after serious illness. Besides this, special parts like snake bile, venom, and bones are all collected, carefully preserved, and sold to folk medicine shops. Bile is stored in small glass bottles, sealed and sold at prices many times higher than meat. Here's something most people don't know. While many know snake venom is used to make anticoagulant drugs in modern medicine, few realize that for hundreds of years, snakes have been part of East Asian folk medicine treasures as medicine from the shadows. What once spread fear in jungles, humans now use to heal themselves. If snakes are the common livelihood of Javanese farmers, then pythons, especially adults, are considered portable treasure. An adult python can weigh up to 90 kilos, stretch over 6 meters with a body as thick as an adult's thigh. They're not easy to hunt, but once captured, each python skin can be worth up to 10,000 USD if processed with proper technique. At specialized facilities in Indonesia, pythons are brought into steel cages, kept alive to serve a controversial process, pumping water into their bodies while still living, helping the skin stretch, making it easier to remove, and reducing tears during processing. This is the stage most criticized by animal protection organizations. But for people here, it's the only way to achieve high commercial quality. Python skin after removal is washed clean, soaked in softening chemicals, then placed in large drying ovens. Afterward, they're dyed according to requirements, jet black, blood red, golden yellow, to serve the global high-end fashion industry. The entire process is done by hand, by skilled craftsmen whose hands are thick with scars, an experience passed from father to son. Every knife cut, every incision must be precise to the millimeter. Python skin isn't just luxury material, it's a symbol of craftsmanship in a handicraft industry surviving in the age of automation. In many places around the world, snakes symbolize danger, but in West Java, they symbolize hope and employment. It's estimated that Indonesia's snake processing industry currently provides direct employment for over 175,000 workers, along with about 150,000 hunters and farmers specializing in snake breeding. These numbers aren't just statistics. They represent families with food, children going to school, elderly people with medicine. In villages specializing in snake catching, the trade passes from generation to generation. Adults teach children how to set traps, how to identify venomous snakes, not to kill, but to survive and exist in a profession full of risks. But behind this lies an undeniable dark side. The increasing exploitation of wild snakes poses risks to biodiversity decline. Controversies surrounding the killing and processing of snake skins continue to simmer, between the thin line of handicraft artistry and cruel behavior. And then, overdependence on a single income source also makes many communities vulnerable to market fluctuations. A pandemic, a trade ban, or a wave of international opposition could bring everything crashing down in months. But for people here, snakes aren't a choice. They're all they have. In a world where the wealth gap grows daily, there are places where killing snakes is the only way to keep living. We've journeyed into a world where ancient wisdom meets modern necessity, where fear transforms into livelihood, and where the line between survival and exploitation remains razor thin. The snake industry of Indonesia reveals something profound about human adaptability and the complex relationship between tradition and progress. These communities have turned one of humanity's oldest fears into a sophisticated economic system that supports hundreds of thousands of lives. But this story raises questions that extend far beyond snakeskin and bile. In our interconnected world, who decides what's ethical? When survival is at stake, how do we balance animal welfare with human need? And as global markets increasingly demand transparency, how do traditional industries adapt while preserving their cultural heritage? The villagers of West Java don't see themselves as part of a global controversy. They see themselves as inheritors of ancient knowledge, skilled craftsmen, and providers for their families. Their relationship with snakes is neither romantic nor cruel. It's practical, respectful, and essential. As we return to our comfortable lives, far from the red dirt roads and drying snake skins, perhaps the most important question isn't whether we approve of their methods. Perhaps it's whether we truly understand the complexity of survival in a world where choices are luxuries not everyone can afford. The serpent's gold continues to flow from Java's villages to the world's fashion capitals, carrying with it stories of tradition, survival, and the eternal human struggle to transform fear into hope. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to continue exploring the hidden stories behind the products we use every day, don't forget to subscribe. Every subscription and comment motivates us to keep telling these real stories from places few people can access. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
Have you ever taken a bite of sausage and thought, where did this actually come from? Not the grocery store, but the real beginning. Long before it sizzled in your pan, that sausage began its journey on a high-tech pig farm you'd never imagine. Today, we're going to follow every step of that journey, from smart barns filled with thousands of pigs, to flavor labs mixing secret spice recipes, all the way to vacuum-sealed perfection on a supermarket shelf. This isn't just about meat. It's about modern farming, hidden science, and a whole lot of surprising truth. So don't go anywhere, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at your breakfast sausage the same way again. Let's start at the very beginning. You might picture pigs rolling in mud, snorting around a messy barn. But modern pig farming, it's nothing like that. In fact, it's cleaner, quieter, and a lot smarter than most people think. Today's pig farms look more like food laboratories than old barns. Inside, thousands of pigs live in temperature-controlled buildings, kept cool in the summer, warm in the winter. They're fed automatically, on schedule, with computer systems tracking every calorie and every ounce of weight gained. These pigs wear digital ear tags that monitor their health. Their environment is controlled by artificial intelligence. Yes, really. Sensors detect everything from humidity to air quality to how much each pig moves during the day. Why all this tech? Because healthy pigs grow better, and better pigs make better meat. No guessing, no shortcuts. Every pig is part of a system designed to maximize safety, efficiency, and quality. It may sound like science fiction, but it's very real. Welcome to farming in the 21st century. And once the pigs reach their target weight, around 250 pounds, it's time for the next step. A part of the journey most people would rather not think about, but it's where the real transformation begins. Now this part isn't easy to talk about, but it's important. Once pigs reach their full size, they're transported calmly and carefully to a processing facility. it's not the chaotic, terrifying place you might imagine. Modern slaughterhouses are designed to reduce stress as much as possible. Why? Because when pigs are stressed, it changes their muscle chemistry. It affects the color, the texture, even the flavor of the meat. So from the moment they arrive, everything is calm. The lighting is soft, the floors are padded, there's no yelling, no noise. Even the route the pigs walk is curved, so they don't panic at the sight of what's ahead. The process is fast, clean, and follows strict animal welfare standards. It's not pretty, but it's professional. And for those who care about where their food comes from, this is a part of the story that deserves to be told. But not all pork becomes sausage. Only the best cuts are chosen. And what happens next is a bit like auditioning for a role in your favorite movie. Not every part of the pig makes it into a sausage. Just like you wouldn't use any random wood to build a violin, sausage makers only want specific cuts with the perfect balance of lean meat and fat. The shoulders, the loins, the rump. These are the VIP sections of the pig, rich in flavor, low in gristle, and just fatty enough to stay juicy. Workers carefully trim away excess fat, remove tendons, and clean the meat until it's ready for the next stage. And here's the secret. Good sausage needs just enough fat. Not too much, not too little. Too dry, and the sausage crumbles. Too fatty, and it turns mushy. The perfect sausage starts right here with the perfect cuts.